in the headphones.
All right, we're live.
Oh, right.
Again.
2 nights in a fucking row.
This is for all the people that complain that we stay away for too long. We'll figure we'll give them one right after the other.
I have a theory you guys haven't slept yet.
No, I slept like a baby. Matter of fact, when I got everything wrapped up here last night, I texted Greeno, great show, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm already in bed."
Yeah.
It was like literally 10 minutes later.
Dude, I was out of it last night. That's probably why I was a little grumpy. Just fuck everything kind of a mood a little bit.
No, that was awesome. I knew you were tired just because because of the dog. So yeah. I was like,
hurry up and show your record, idiot.
Yeah, that's what he was like. He's like, oh, I told everybody I Vance he was going to slap me because I interrupted. He's like, hold on. I was like, whoa. We were fucking cracking up.
All right, so we got Metal Theologian Aaron tonight and Mr. Bananas. And Zep Pearl was in the Vance is in the comments.
He's in the chat, I see it.
Yeah.
Vance, I sent you a link. You're
yeah, if you want to jump in anytime,
yeah,
dude, feel free.
Yeah.
And Zeke Geek Zach's going to be joining us a little bit later. He's
wow.
Yeah, he's getting
yeah, let me guess who this is. Boner Beans. Can anyone guess who that is? He seems to have changed his name over since the last time we were on.
I'm not sure.
My son.
Oh, is it?
You gotta love getting trolled by your own family. That's the best.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try and keep up with the comments a little better today. Reno and I were talking earlier. It's so hard once we get into conversation to actually for me to look over and start reading comments while I'm listening, you know what I mean? And then I lose track of what's going on. So
we're thinking about promoting Vance.
We already thought it.
He's just an intern now, but we might bring him on.
I would say I'd try to help you guys, but
well, we're gonna extend that olive branch to Vance. He's gonna be our third.
What is
be a
that?
Co-host with the three of us. So
what are you sucking on?
It's in his ballpark.
When's the last time you guys drank a 40 or actually a 42?
Oh my god, dude!
I thought that was a 40.
And they're plastic, which sucks. But the store I went to, they didn't have Old English, nor did they have the Bull, which is my preferred malt liquor. I love malt liquor, but I haven't drank it in a long time. When the hell did Steel Reserve go up to 8.1%? So,
I got
malt liquor's usually always higher, isn't it, than regular beer? I think.
Yeah, it's higher, but I mean, the Bull is like 6, and that's kind of what I was after. So this is maybe a little strong. Even for me, I did stop drinking liquor a couple of weeks ago. I mean, not permanently, but I mentioned on the show where I was like, it got to be like started feeling like cigarettes, where I'm like, oh man, there's no liquor in the house, like, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that shit. I put an end to that.
So I went back onto the malt liquor.
I'm on the. I got my 33 Fuji Apple.
Oh, that's good. Good stuff.
I quit drinking, so.
All right, man. So, like I said, Zach will be here later. He forgot he's in a different time zone now, so he's running a little behind, but it's all cool. We're just kind of going to continue from last night, man. And if you weren't here, last video, this all started 20 years ago with me trying to put together my personal top 100 records of all times. Been working on it forever. Actually added a couple last night after the show.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Do you routinely kind of maintain the list and add things, take away? Have you ever taken anything out of it?
I haven't taken anything out of it yet, but like I said, I've been doing this very, very slowly and thinking about it. I'm not just throwing something on it that's like, oh, it's a great album, but does it really need to be on the top 100 ever? And like I said, I started 20 years ago and I got like maybe to 20 something. Kind of forgot about it, came across it again about 10 years later, added another 20. I was up to 43 as of last night. And I came across it again on the computer and thought, I want to work on this again. And I was like, well, shit, this might be fun to do on Grow Man Record Night. See how many we kind of cross on and how many were like, oh, I never even thought of that. And how many were like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Or how many are like, what? Why would you have that on the top 100? You know what I'm saying? But all right, we had fun with it last night. So figured we'd get going again tonight. So, Mikey, you said you had not one of your picks, but you had something else you wanted to show, kind of talk about.
Well, I'll do it kind of second because it. I'll lead it up because I'll use it as an intro because what I got started with music very young was my parents' collection of albums, and my mom had a box of 45s, and my dad had some cassette tapes, and for some I gravitated toward the cassette tapes and my mom's 45s more than anything. But in those box of tapes, it was some of my first stuffs. The first time I'd heard or experienced different types of music. I mean, we're talking like 3 years old. But one of the things in there, I just actually found the case to this.
Hey, me too, Scotty.
Really? Because of Greeno? Hell yeah.
I didn't know that. Scotty Strychnine is like a part of Grown Man Records night, man. You know, it's like I had no idea. That's cool.
But my dad had this, and he must have got gifted this or bought it at a flea market or something. My parents are not jazz people, and I know you guys aren't jazz people either, and that's why I'm not. I know Metal Theologian is, but I'm not. I wasn't going to shove jazz and all this weird shit.
Yo, Mikey, there's always one.
I know, man. I know. But so this was in my dad's collection. Like I said, I just recently found the cover to this. It's Dave Brubeck, and it's. We're all together again for the first time. And I think this is a live set. I want to say like the early 70s or something, maybe mid 70s. And I mean, you can tell by the color of this tape. Look at this tape. I mean, it's like.
That's well loved.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it probably won't even play. But the first jazz I ever heard is Take 5 off of this cassette. And I was absolutely enamored by it. Like I didn't know what to think. And my parents were like, what is wrong with this kid? But I was always kind of weird like that. I mean, I was kicking 5/4 time in my crib with my feet, you know, like my brain operates different, and everybody's kind of always known that a little bit. But anyway, matter of fact, this live version has a drum solo on it that it's not really on any other version. And it's a monster. If you've never heard this, if you're a jazz fan, so much so that I kind of started revisiting things, nostalgia. And I went back and bought myself a copy on Discogs of the record because it was I knew the tape wouldn't play, and I didn't have a great way to play the tape at the time anyway. And so picked this up like it was, if it wasn't sealed, it was like pretty damn close, like a near mint copy. And it was like $4 or so. It was like nothing crazy. I mean, it's Brubeck. And I know that's dollar record city for a lot of people, and a lot of jazz people will scoff at Brubeck, and it's not the hip, cool thing to like probably, but that was my introduction to jazz and really just sent me down the road right there. And there was more in that box of tapes and those 45s that kind of pulled me out. But
dude, I was going to say that's one of those records. I don't know if it would necessarily make your top 100, but that's the kind of record that could for me, because that holds a lot of sentimental value to you. And it's part of your being. Well,
and I was watching y'all's program last night, and that's the first thing I thought of was like, oh Jesus, your top 5 favorite albums of all time. And I'm like, I'm kind of glad I'm not on the show because I can't do that. Like I can't do that.
It's hard, man. Like he sprung it on me, Friday, whenever we talked, and I was like, oh, this should be easy, man. And I got through 10, and then I was like, oh fuck. And then like yesterday we talked about it even more. And I'm like, talking about where we were when we heard it. And I was like, oh my God, that just opened up a whole fucking new.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I heard Mr. Bizarro say it first. And that's what it kind of reeled me back in, because I was like, I don't think I can pick. My tastes go all over the place all the time. I'm a like micro hyper focus on one niche genre, like stoner doom stuff, and then like 80s metal, and now I'm in like a punk rock phase where I'm collecting punk stuff, and like it goes on. I mean, there's been obviously been a funk era, and I mean like old soul. I just go all over the place. But I had to make it sentimental. I had to make it autobiographical. The ones that, like you said, take it to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of cleaned it up a little bit. I'm like, there's some of these that are so important to me specifically that those are the ones that I'm gonna call out tonight.
But what you're saying, like how you're all over the place, that's what would make for a cool top 100 list to me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that's just into metal, just into jazz or whatever. It's like, no, man, like mine's all over the place too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
think
don't
that's
understand how people do that. Where if you just have you're just into one genre of music and that's what you listen to all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't have any idea how you do that. But like,
Yeah, but were you like that as a child, like
absolutely,
a teenager?
it was weird. I started out just kind of classic Rocky, and that turned me in. The jazz thing kind of led me. I don't know. Well, my official first pick would really kick this off, but like, my parents and shit called me like an old soul because I like 50s and 60s rock and roll stuff. I liked classical music. I liked jazz, and my parents were not any of those things. My parents like classic rock, but I was already just everywhere.
Yeah, my oldest son's an old soul for sure. I always said that because I told Greeno. Greeno knows this for 10 years now, and I can walk past his room at any given time and hear Dean Martin or Mac Miller or Slayer or and it's the weirdest thing. I wasn't like that. Even he's 24 now. I wasn't even like that at 24. At 24, I was still AC/DC, Kiss, Megadeth, Slayer, like that metal genre. It wasn't until probably till I had him, really, that then you start branching out, like, because I had a lot of time on my hands with a baby, so I was listening to a lot of music, and then that's when my blues, Muddy Waters kicked in, probably the year he was born for me.
It was like mid-20s for me. What I mean?
That's
about
then,
it was like
I was
classic
28 when I had him, so.
I kind of noticed it a lot because the Grown Man Record Night's always kind of been based on that idea of we evolved through the genres as the night went on. We started with like jazz and then went to funk and then went to rock or sometimes it was hip hop, and the rock ended up turning to metal, and then it turned to ambient where we're all fucked up at night or whatever. But like several years ago, we did a thing where we entered pretty much all the albums that we play on the show. We made a Spotify playlist. And so if I was like, I stream when I'm away from the crib, obviously I'm not taking a turntable in my car. So I was like, man, if you take a road trip or something, like pop on the Grown Man Record Night playlist and see what the fuck happens. You end up popping up with, like, you go from like Slayer to like Sam Cooke to Queens of the Stone Age to Dean Martin to and like it's all over the place. And I guess for some people that'd be like, fuck this, but like for me, that's home. That's my brain, like 100%.
I could tell you the last 10 years or so, I've gotten into more 70s rock because of Greeno, like the 70s, and that started with that band Thunderhead.
Yeah,
is that the name of them? Thunderhead. Yeah. Like he's like the first time we ever talked on the phone, he's like, you ever hear this band Thunderhead? And then he sent me one.
I remember
like this Southern rock fucking great record that I apparently didn't sell anything when it first came out. So that was like, anytime I see that Thunderhead record, I automatically think of Greeno.
See, that's one of those. I love records like that, man. That whenever you see it, it's like, I
even kept a note in the back of the record that you sent with it.
That's cool. That's like, dude, I cannot think of jazz or listen to jazz without thinking of that man right there, Metal Theologian. Because hey, Aaron, I don't know if your mic's working, dude.
Can you hear me right now?
It's very, very low.
Oh shit. Okay, I'll see if I can fuck with it. Thanks.
But yeah, him showing, Aaron showing all this metal, and all of a sudden he kicked into his jazz mode, and I'm like, holy crap. And then just kind of checking some of it out. It kind of pushed me into checking it out. You know what I mean?
Vance just threw you under the bus. Wow. You know what? He's getting a little punchy for us just making him a partner. Huh?
He was just getting ready to go on the roster. Here we go.
The designated shitter.
Can my list faint like this? Is that better?
Yeah, you sound better.
Yeah.
All right, fuck it then. Just let me know if it starts to echo or something, and I'll reassess.
All right, cool.
We could hear you. It was just real low. I mean, I can hear you because I have my head. Oh, they do too. Never mind.
That's bullshit, dude. I listen to other people's streams sometimes. When someone calls in or whatever and it's really low, it's annoying. So I don't want to do that.
I appreciate that. Like there's some people that get on streams that are like, they got a cool looking shot, and I'm like, dude, you're on your phone and you're 9 feet away from your camera. I don't want to get into a whole physics thing with you here, but anyway.
Oh, you guys want to jump into this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Let me just say real quick though that I think that the topic was great because like it focuses on shit that we're really into, but it's still broad enough. Like if we pick 5 out of 100, I don't have to know what all those 100 would be. I think y'all took this way more seriously than I did, maybe because I kind of came last minute. But I just went for okay, what are 5 that I could plausibly put in there that maybe I haven't talked about, or maybe something that someone hasn't heard of, So that's kind of what I went for. Was actually it kind of was easy.
I got it. Real quick before we get into them, Mikey gave me an idea. Just a real quick question before we get into them. That cassette tape he showed, that was one of his first memories of something that he heard, right? I want to know your other, like Greeno and Aaron, yours. What's the absolute first record? Like your first memory of something that caught your ear that wasn't normal, like not a kid's thing.
The one for me is my first turntable that I had heard Kiss through my cousins, but I didn't have any Kiss yet, and I asked for a turntable for Christmas. So of course I had to get a couple records, and the 2 records I remember, these were my first 2 records. The first one was that Beach Boys live album, the black cover.
Oh yeah, black with the orange.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to the hell out of that, man. I actually don't have. I have most of my originals from when I was a kid, but I didn't have that one because it ended up getting screwed up. But I found another copy of that a few years back and dropped the needle on it, and I could sing through the whole thing, and I hadn't heard it in 40 years or whatever. You know what I mean? So and the other one was, if I remember right, was Live at Budokan. I'm pretty sure that was the second one I got.
So what? Not your first albums, but like what I was saying is like the first song you heard on the radio with your parents or something. I can tell you exactly my very first memory of listening to something in the car, say, that kind of drove me like, hey, I like this.
The first song that caught my attention as a kid, and I figured it out, like, hey, I know what this guy's talking about, was My Ding-a-Ling by Chuck Berry.
Oh, yeah?
My uncle had it, like on an 8-track or something, and I remember him playing that, and I was like,
Zeke.
What up?
What's up, brother? All the way from Vegas now.
Look at this guy.
Dude is everywhere.
Yep.
Greeno, if I may pick up where you left off right there. I know I already kind of did one, but in that same tape box, without a doubt, the biggest piece of music in my entire life I've ever touched, heard, been a part of was exactly what you said. Chuck Berry. It's the best of the best of Chuck Berry, and the last song is My Ding-a-Ling.
Dude, I bet it was the same album. I bet he had a best of. I bet
this is it's 1978 comp, I believe, and I've not been able to find it on record. Actually, I may have found it today because I thought it was this when I first started collecting records. You guys have probably seen this one.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah,
I don't like these versions. These versions, they're not the same versions as this. I mean, it's Chuck Berry, so it's kick ass, but I don't like the versions on that.
Well, is that the original version? Which one? Yeah, that black one's the originals, right?
I don't know. It's another comp of something. It's Chuck Berry is really weird. The studio stuff, I don't know what's studio. I don't know what's live. I don't know what's rare and B-sides and came from this other. I don't know, but it's the first time I heard rock and roll that I can remember. Mm-hmm. It's the first time like I knew like, holy shit, rock and roll is going to be a big ass part of my life. Number 2, I want to learn to play guitar right now. And number 3, I cannot be a passive fan of this thing, rock and roll. I gotta be in front of people.
Now, how old were you?
3 years old.
3. Wow. That's younger than me. Mine was,
and that's the damn truth.
Go.
Yeah, for me it was Simon and Garfunkel. Actually, I remember we had family were like I don't know, they played records sometimes because my parents usually didn't. And I remember really liking the Simon and Garfunkel one. This is when I was like, they were friends of the family in Boston, so I couldn't have been more than 10. I was probably more like 8 or something like that. But I thought Simon and Garfunkel was just the shit.
I did too.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I wouldn't think You know what I mean? The shit
How
you
old
said
were
was
you?
Like Simon and Garfunkel. This dude started on Simon and Garfunkel.
I'll
That
never
was a
forget
really
this,
little kid.
and this is the God's honest truth. My mother and father divorced when I was 5, and they were together when I remember this. So it was right before they got divorced. Allman Brothers, Ramblin' Man.
Oh, that's cool.
When I heard it on the radio, I was just like, I remember sitting in the back of the car, like, hey, I like this song. And then Dad Mom listened to music too. She was like into Elvis and shit, like she was pretty young. She was in her early 20s then. My father broke out. I'll never forget this because we were eating, and this is the fucking weirdest thing. Girl Scout cookies, because it was about this time of year, and they were the shortbread ones. And I was sitting on the couch with my father listening to Jim Croce.
Wow.
Because he's from like 10 minutes down the road here. So, and I'll never forget listening to You Don't Mess Around with Jim. And those two songs, that and the Allman Brothers, Ramblin' Man, are probably my first two that went, okay, I like this stuff, this kind of stuff. So
there's not much else in life that can make you remember something when you were 5. Shortbread cookie.
I could tell you what color the couch was. The couch was blue, like not a dark blue, like a 70s blue. And my mother had plastic over it, like the Italians did. All the Italians did back then. Like, so every time you moved, you heard it, and in the summertime, you fucking stuck to it. So.
Dude, I remember the most minute details from when I was like 3 years old, like dead ass. But don't ask me anything we talked about on last week's show.
Yep,
my short-term memory gone.
And there's one more song, and I don't know quite when it was, and I have a feeling it might have predated the Allman Brothers, because I have a feeling I was in a crib, and I remember laying in the crib, and was it Blue Suede, Hooked on a Feeling? Is that who did it?
Suede, yeah.
Yeah, Blue Suede. Hooked on a Feeling, and the beginning, that oomba shaka oomba, that came on the radio, scared the shit out of me, because I thought there was like monsters in the room. And then when the song kicked in, the song calmed me down. It's the weirdest thing. My mother came. I'll never forget. My mother walked in the room, and I feel like I was in the crib, like looking across onto the bureau at the radio. There was a little radio on the thing,
right.
But I remember it was that fucking song. But it took me about 15 years after that, because you didn't have internet and all that shit, and the radio had stopped playing that track by the time I was probably out of the crib. It wasn't that big of a hit.
Zeke, jump in here, man. What was the first thing you remember? First song?
I was kind of thinking of it, but we used to, in Indiana, we used to cruise around, and my mom's boyfriend was like from the 50s. He'd been a 50s teenager and stuff, so he liked to cruise around and listen to the old radio like that. And a lot of those songs are kind of kids' song, like "Hang On, Sloopy" and the Turtles, like "So Happy Together" or whatever. Those are like almost
Brown,
song kind of. They're like a little bit like sing-song, kind of lullaby, kind of kid. They're at a kid's level, So, and there was like 100 songs like that, of those old kind of songs like that. So I was a little kid, and I just remember thinking, like, I could probably just drive around here and listen to music like forever. And I was like, this is cool. I could do this forever. And I still am. I still would prefer to listen to music in the car almost over anything, almost over anywhere else.
Man, there's something about being in a car when you're driving and the right song, right band comes on, and it just kind of takes you.
It's an encapsulated place. I don't know what it is,
and it might last for a song or two, and then it's kind of gone. I've noticed that, where it's just like, wow, almost like it was in a video or something right there.
If you're looking at the road, then it kind of takes it's like driving doesn't take a whole lot of mental, but it takes a little bit. So I think maybe because you're kind of turning off some things, you're like, well, I got to pay enough attention where I can see the road. I think it opens up your mind to hear some music. You're not distracted by too much other shit,
Dude, that's why those Tom Petty lyrics, "Running Down a Dream," where he's talking about, I had the radio on, I was flying. Like, those are always like, I'm like, everybody knows exactly what that feels like.
Of course.
Right on.
Especially this time of year when it's like fucking not a cloud in the sky and it's 70 degrees, dude. Love this shit. I love to crank the stereo. My dumb ass, dude, I don't even listen to the radio. I just put a bunch of tracks on my computer, and then once it hits 80 minutes, I make a disc and put it in the car. That's my radio. Like, I'll put all kinds of new shit, like, that I'll, before albums come out, how you rip the fucking YouTube video of it for the audio and just put it in the car, and that's my radio. Like,
oh, yeah.
Do you guys ever mess with terrestrial radio at all anymore?
Just for sports.
Got it.
Just
I actually listen to a lot of AM local radio.
I tried listening to some out here, and it was such complete garbage. I couldn't do it.
I don't listen to rock radio. There's like
no such thing.
There is.
Well, I listen to a morning show around here that's really popular, but like the classic rock radio really doesn't do it for me. There's another one that there's like, we'll play everything, and it's like they play classic rock. Plus, they play like 80s cheese and stuff. And that's actually kind of a vibe. I don't mind that. But like, there's still we have a community radio station around here that's associated with a college, but you don't have to be a student to get a show. And I'd always said if record night shit the bed and they kicked us off, I'd have to go get a show over there or something. But you could just go take a little training course and you get your own show. But it's just a random, and there's a lot of like old dudes in the, in the community that's like super into like beach music or like soul or whatever that go get a show for 2 or 3 hours, which is really cool.
With bananas.
Yeah. It's the weird guy carrying a stack of LPs. Well, I got to get in there and get my thing. Like
that in Denver, and there were a lot of weirdos in there, and it was amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was the guy who was on after me was a judge, and he was super into big band jazz. And he would burn one CD every time. He's like, I've been doing this for 28 years, and I learned a long time ago that if people call in for requests, I'm not going to have it on me anyway. So I just make one sheet with notes, and I make like one burn CD, and that's it. If you call over tough shit, he had a big crowd. Everybody there who loved big band jazz knew him and listened to his show, and there was all kinds of weirdos. It was great.
Right on. All right, so everybody's good. Everybody's got 5 albums. Were you able to pull 5? Zeke? This was kind of last minute for
everybody. I pulled 5, but I actually just pulled in here. I actually did out for the time zone difference, but I could do it. I could.
Okay, right on. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it, man. You wanna? Let's start with Aaron. Mikey already showed something there.
All right. Well, I was going to start with an easy one, especially because I just talked about it recently, man. But this fucking Heavy Metal Heroes record, totally one of the top 100 records. It is better than so many great albums by so many other artists. It's just a great compilation, man. It fucking rocks all the way through. The songs are good. The parts where it slows down a little bit, you can totally forgive them, you know what I mean? Because they didn't commit some awful sin. And like, there are even a lot of bands on here who weren't like all that great, who did their best shit on here, you know what I mean? So yeah, it has the Grim Reaper song on it and that's it's cool for that. But like Jaguar sounds great on here, not like on the album where they were kind of anemic. Bitches Sin was really good. Metal Mirror only made like a pretty tough to find 45 other than this appearance. And shit like that. I'm not the big Handsome Beasts fan, but the song belongs there. But yeah, just a great compilation, man. It's just a really good package, and it plays through like just a great album by a great artist. The whole bunch of them together.
That's cool. I think totally comps can be on this list. Greatest hits, live albums, whatever, man. It's just. But
like I was thinking about, there are a lot of good comps, but there aren't really a lot of great comps, and there aren't really a lot of comps that are so great that I put them in the running with, real albums by individual artists, where there's like a concept and all that sort of thing. But this one ranks as far as I'm concerned.
What year is that from, Aaron?
It's like 80, 81, something like that.
Wow, mega early.
Yeah, 1980.
Wow. Holy shit. What label is that?
It's Heavy Metal.
Okay.
Here, I'll show the label real quick just for the hell of it. It has that weird cover too. Like they're pictures of the 45s that they were selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the label.
Right on.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Heavy Metal Records. out of Britain.
Great one. All right, Zeke, you're up.
Let's say hi to Randy, and then somebody asked me if I DJ'd in KSYM San Antonio radio, which I did. Yes, I
did.
I DJ'd there. I was stationed there from 2002 to 2010, and I DJ'd there around the time that Barack Obama became president.
Wow.
That it was like right in that time he was campaigning. I remember that because that was like in the news on and stuff. So that I was DJing there about a year. I just saw a Megadeth on this weekend, and this so far so good. So what would be one of my all-time favorite records from when I was fifth. I was extremely young, you know.
Is that your first Megadeth album? Is that like where you caught onto them?
First Megadeth record I ever heard, and I don't know what year. I mean, it would have been, I don't know when. You know, I was very old.
That came out in '87, didn't it?
I was all over that record when it came out too.
Yeah, 87. So yeah, I was like, you know, right at that. I was like fifth grade or whatever. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So I just saw them, and Dave Mustaine's still such an ass. Like, it was just great.
That's why I love the dude.
Now he's a Christian ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
now he's even worse.
So I saw Metallica. I've been going a whole shitload of shows here and stuff, you know. So I just saw Metallica for the first time in 30 years. Last time I saw him, I was 14 years old or whatever. So,
Hey, man, you're cutting out a lot. Your audio.
I don't know. Let's see. I have a microphone here too, if that makes it. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
So I saw Metallica when I was 14. I just recently saw them again. And then I saw Megadeth, and of course it's a much smaller venue, much smaller show. More like the old metal shows, you know.
Mm.
But they have amazing graphics, amazing. It was cool.
Right on, man.
Here. God,
Yep.
I just the recent Castillo show and records is like a great thing.
We got there holding fart.
Holding a fart.
Sorry
Get it
about that.
right. I figured I'd go old school like our first few episodes and change up the names. Well, this is what got me into this band, and I obviously went back to every album prior to this, but somebody gave me this in high school, I think, and that's Ramones Mania. Like
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
You know, it's all you need. I mean, you don't need any other Ramones records on the shelf unless you like the deep cuts, because this has 40 some songs on it. That's about all you need.
That's like one of the greatest hits ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I think there's more of the later Sire stuff on here that I would have liked, you know. Actually, this doesn't have any of the early shit on it. What am I talking about? Oh yeah, it does. Blitzkrieg Bop. So I guess this is, I never even thought of it, but this is like the Warner Brothers. I guess this is all the same label anyway, but
I think Sire was a part of Warner Brothers, wasn't it?
yeah, but Sire, remember they switched to Sire Records when they did that Phil Spector record.
Yeah.
And then everything on after that was Sire, so I didn't even think of that. But
What's that, Zeke?
What's the Phil Spector?
end of the century.
Oh,
But that came out 1980, I think.
Yeah, because they're still.
It's the reddish cover, has them all kind of.
They've done the 40-year anniversaries for the first 4 records and the live album, right? Well, they announced end of the century like 2 years ago, but it has yet to surface.
Wow.
They even had a track listing and everything. I'm looking up there because that's where the Ramones are. I'm just trying to see, because I never got the live one, because the Record Store Day stuff that's been out ends up being that live shit that's in that box anyway. So,
Hey, welcome to the show, Eddie. Says
Hey, what's up, Eddie?
nice.
Eddie has some good taste in music. I'll vouch. I was really, I have to say, man, I'm kind of coming around the Ramones. I've kind of been a Ramones hater for a long time, and I'm really starting to come around. Like I knew the classic tracks and stuff, but like I was just like, I don't know, there's better punk rock out there. And I was like, I don't know, but now I'm starting to kind of get it. You know, the older I get, I get
It's so simple and so perfect. You know what I mean? It's just like,
And Greedo's right. It's simple. It's perfect. And they wore their influences on their sleeve. They were the only punk band that really did that. They weren't afraid to do that weird 50s cover every now and then that nobody knew. And they did stuff that people knew and still people loved it. Like can't go ahead.
I'll say the thing with the Ramones is they're 3 chords and everything pretty much sounds the same, but all their shit gets stuck in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a million bands try to rip them off, and not one of them has done it to the level they can do it. You know what I mean?
No, I think a band that's currently could be considered like not a modern. I don't, putting them in the same sentence is kind of stupid anyway. But that Teenage Bottle Rocket band,
yeah, I mean
they're good. They're actually great at what they do. If you want that Ramon style stuff,
but I don't leave after listening to their album with the shit stuck in my head.
Oh no, I couldn't tell you one song title.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. But they're a great band. When I hear them, I'm like, I know who they are.
I think part of it was I didn't get that first wave of punk. Like for the longest time, it didn't.
But which wave? Because our age is the 70s wave. But
yeah, that's what that first wave, very first wave of punk. I was a little later, and so I don't know. I didn't get it. Now that's the kind of stuff because of people in the VC. I'm kind of going back, and much like the like 80s metal stuff, the stuff that was a little before my time, I didn't really get. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going back and trying to find that stuff. Same with the punk, that late 70s, early 80s punk that I missed that I may have thought was corny because I'm like, man, you don't even have fucking distortion on your guitar, bruh. Like now I'm like, oh yeah, and it's almost kind of, there's some stuff that's got some rockabilly vibes to it, some stuff that doesn't sound like the Ramones that's still considered punk, and it's not distorted guitars and stuff like that. And it took me a little while to open up to that and understand that was kind of part of the deal. Well, that's one thing I love about punk is that punkers will still accept things that doesn't sound like the rest of the scene and still call it punk. I mean, like look at the Minutemen or this stuff, something like that. That's like,
well, when Nirvana's Nevermind first came out, it wasn't grunge yet. They called that Nirvana a punk band.
Yeah,
and I'm sure Nirvana was very happy about that.
Right, I believe it's more punk than Nevermind.
Yeah, I mean, they were considered punk at the sub pop stuff. But I mean, I remember.
Like
him back in the day, he said it's a great album. Dookie's great. Green Day's a great band, but it's the kind of punk rock you would buy at the Gap.
Yeah, it's corporate punk.
And I was like, that's it. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. He said that. He said that for the Dookie review.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean,
he nailed that about fucking 30 years before.
But that's a lot of stuff, though. I mean, if you think about, think of the grunge or whatever, the early Soundgardens are nothing like Black Hole Sun era sound. You know what I mean?
Or even like Green Day when they got huge, I was like, the Ramones were doing this shit 10 years ago or whatever it was, 20 years at that 15 years ago. I can't believe these guys are huge now. Like this just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and
especially around the same time as Nirvana, and they were about the same time, right?
Ramones T-shirt, but it seemed like nobody ever listened to the Ramones. To me, it seemed like in my age group, it was like everybody has the Ramones T-shirt on. Nobody, they never listened to the Ramones.
It was trendy.
That shit's been going on a while. It's trendy to wear a Ramones shirt, but to that point, there's a couple of Green Day albums before Dookie, especially Kerplunk. Kerplunk's a great album. I think that's a good record.
It is a good record.
There's another one I can't remember the name of. There was two I remember that was kind of before they got polished completely up. But
Teddy Spaghetti says, "What would you consider second wave? Misfits? No. Misfits I consider first because they were 78 when they started. Black Flag,
they were early."
Second wave, I would say stuff from 84 forward.
Yeah, I would say 84, 85 forward. Social Distortion may fall into that category, but Social Distortion to me was never a punk band.
They started out punk, but they.
Yeah, you're right. I never listened to them back until they signed with Sony or whatever and had that killer
Big
white.
Tape, Social Distortion and stuff don't even sound like punk to me now. But I don't know. They are, I guess. Just like AC Metal at the time, they were on the Monsters of Metal and stuff. I don't know, at the time.
Yeah, that's funny that you said that because I never considered Social Distortion punk, but I never listened to their early stuff.
He's more punk than me.
I guess
Huh.
right. It's just rock and roll. Straight up to me.
Yeah, they definitely turned into just like a cool '50s greaser rock.
Yeah,
band.
that's why. That's the version I love.
Yeah, but they definitely started out more punk. I mean, they were,
I knew like Mommy's Little Monster. Was that them?
I think so.
Or Daddy's Little Monster? That was pretty punky, but
You just went, right, George?
the Ramones. Yeah.
All right, well, I'll keep the punk going.
Go ahead.
You guys ever heard this? This is from '81. This dude was a producer, and I think this is the only album he did as himself. He was a producer in LA in the '70s with those punk bands. But Giza X, You Goddamn Kids.
Wow, never heard of it.
Don't know that.
Holy crap, man. Just crazy. Like, it's got that punk vibe to it, but very, like, it's not industrial. It's like what a computer would make in 1981.
Really?
It's just the craziest shit. And, like, I mean, his vocals are just very weird, like something Zappa would do or something.
Oh wow, I'm gonna check this out.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
cool.
gonna
It's been
check it out.
reissued.
I'm really intrigued too, man. I've seen that record around, but I never bid on it. And I think it's because it was like 81, because when I was at my peak, I didn't want anything after like 79. That's being a dick about it, but I think that's the only reason I never bought that myself.
He
So
was
really-
in the scene in the 70s, but he was like behind the scenes. And then he kind of did this. I think it was a while getting it done, and it came out in 81. But definitely worth checking out if you can find it. It's been reissued, I think. This is an original.
Shit, man, I've never heard anything about that.
And this is on my list because not only do I love the album, but it's so, the first time you're going to hear it, you'll be like, what the fuck is Greeno talking about? But the more you listen to it, it's like, this is funny. And this guy's freaking talented, man. There's some weird shit going on here. And
Like Devo, like the first time you heard Devo, you're like, what
I'd
the
put him in
fuck
that
is
camp.
this?
Yeah, it's like that, but it's not Devo.
Right.
But it's in that weirdo kind of feel. But a friend of mine picked this up, and he's like, you got to hear this. And we stuck it on, and I'm like, what the crap? And we're just rolling through this whole thing, man. And, it's one of those albums I'll never forget the first time I heard it. But totally love this.
Like Metal MC.
Yeah.
The human
Remember that?
B-side, Ron Kidd up in this mug.
What was that? Remember that record? Born to Party or something?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh my god, dude. My buddy made me buy that on a dare one night, and I bought it.
That's pretty shitty if I remember right.
Oh,
Isn't it?
it's so terrible.
What you got, Bananas?
Let's see. So I started out with the stuff that my parents' tape case and all that stuff, and mentioned I was kind of regarded as like an old soul when I was a kid. Now, listen, I was the oldie station kid, and I loved that stuff. And but as I got to like middle school, I did kind of venture into like, I got into like some Poison and some Europe, some shit, Def Leppard. And that kind of led me to like Appetite for Destruction,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was moving in a positive direction. I mean, I know I still like some of that shit now, but just for goofs, mostly. But then, it's somewhere in the middle of middle school, I discovered this and changed my life. Again, one of those change your life kind of shits. You guys talked about it last night. That's my OG, Master of Puppets.
Yep.
And embarrassingly enough, I don't own this on vinyl. I don't know what it is, but you can tell this one's been, just played the shit out of course. But it, for my money, not only the best thrash record ever recorded, the best heavy metal record ever recorded.
I said that last night too,
Yeah.
dude. I totally,
That's
I
definitely
yeah.
number one on a lot of people's metal lists for sure.
And it's weird because I grew up in the South and a religious household, not a neurotic psychopath religious household, but this was also the time of like Satanic Panic, and you may not, it's fucking Metallica. What are you talking about? But I remember like this cover, it's got crosses on it, and some of the imagery and the lyrics, and I'm like, dude, this is fun. But all that did was make me more intrigued by it even more.
Yep. Anything
that had a pentagram or anything like that, because of all the news stories and the hype around satanic shit, I'm like, yeah. I mean, I want to go to heaven, but I want to find out more about this music.
I had a Live After Death poster on my wall. No logo. It was just the art, the outer artwork of it. So it's cool. It didn't look like, nothing to tell you it was Live After Death. My mother walks in. I just put it up on the wall, brand new. My mother walks in. She's like 5'5", Italian woman. She goes, looks on the wall. She goes, what the fuck is that? Like that.
I remember my dad smashing Guns N' Roses, Lies, 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 because I think isn't You're Crazy on both Appetite and Lies? Don't they put it on both?
Yeah, Appetite is the heavy rock version, and Lies version is the acoustic version.
Which is because he hears the acoustic, he goes, "You're fucking crazy." My dad's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," and like smashes the tape, and I'm like, "I still got Appetite for Destruction over there, motherfucker."
Yeah,
you don't know nothing about rock and roll, Dad. You ain't the boss of me. But like, aside from all this shit, like it's some of the first. It's even like how this shit starts out. Like it's not just balls to the wall heavy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's some intricate guitar harmony. It's the first time I heard harmonies. I remember asking my mom, who taught me how to play guitar, and I'm like, "What's that? I want to do that. How do you do that?" And she's like, "Well, I think that's two guitars, and they're playing something different." And I'm like, "Well, whatever that is, that's the shit." And it's the first time I heard stuff like that, and like like interludes that were kind of creepy.
Well, shit,
and,
man.
like,
The first time you heard the Young Brothers, it probably blew your fucking mind. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So like that, this was
doing?
just, and this is when my first step toward rebellion. I was a goody two shoes kid. You may not believe it, but like up through high school until I got to college, I was straight as an arrow, Gennaro. I mean,
until he did those mushrooms.
came a little later. I had some.
Look at him.
I had some epiphanies later in life, but up until then, I was a good kid, and that was my first step toward because this is what the fuck ups in my middle school had on their jean jackets and stuff, and I knew it was a little something. It had a little something to it. And that made it even more intriguing. And I mean, I like the music even more than that. And that's when I started. I mean, and nothing influenced my guitar playing more than probably, it's weird to say, but like Chuck Berry and Metallica, and then probably Nirvana, and then I don't know, but then some more heavy stuff. But that I've always Tool guitar playing.
Plays the fuck out of a pentatonic scale, like a lot of that. I was really like surprised, and I guess I didn't realize that as a kid. It's like that's a lot of Chuck Berry licks in there, actually, man. Like, really surprised me, but I realized it more recently.
That album to me is like what all the underground was heading to, and that album is like the pinnacle of all that underground thrash and everything. But the two albums that always, of course, go head to head is that and Rain and Blood.
Yeah, I said that last night.
Yeah, but that one that's mine. That's the one I picked too.
Yeah, I was a casual Slayer fan, casual Megadeth, a little more Anthrax guy, but I was. And what's funny is that's my number one Metallica. My number two is Kill 'Em All. Ride the Lightning's 3 for me, and I know that's backwards for a lot of people, but
no, I can see that too. I flip flop on Ride and Kill 'Em All.
And I think I play a bass player was in my band that passed away many years ago, but we played Orion because he was a badass bass player. Played Orion, and that's that was we play it like in between songs, like on stage and shit. And the cool thing was at the end of a show, he was an old redneck drywall hanging motherfucker, but he could play the bass like nobody's business. I've still never heard anybody play bass like him. Sheetrock mud all over his fucking arms and shit, duct tape on his fingers. We'd be packing up for the show. We're kind of drunk stuff. And he'd be like, "Hey man, let me see that distortion pedal on that wah pedal down there." And I'm like, "All right." So we're packing up. Bo hooks the shit up and starts playing Anesthesia on the stage while we're packing up. And then the crowd starts gathering back again in front of the stage.
That's
because
awesome.
It was incredible. He knew it note for note. then he would just like laugh at the end and pack his shit up. But Metallica, especially the early stuff, always holds a very special place for sure.
Aaron, between those two, which one? Rain and Blood?
Between that one and Rain and Blood? Probably Rain and Blood.
Really?
I mean, at the time, I was more into Metallica. You know what I mean? I didn't really get Slayer I didn't get my head around them until later. But there aren't any bad songs on Rain and Blood, man. And I think Orion is crap.
Oh, come on.
No way.
I think Sanitarium is crap.
Sanitarium? Oh, come on.
Yeah, I think the rest of the album is great. But those two songs, man.
I don't think there's really a stinker. There are, I mean, ups and downs, but like compared to other Metallica albums, I think there's far less ups and downs. I'll say that.
I think that album's totally solid, and I think Rain and Blood is totally solid. But it's like
Orion's my favorite fucking Metallica instrumental for sure.
Oh, another little tidbit. Yeah, I said tit.
Tidbit.
That album was my pump up song when I played high school football. So I would jam that in the truck, like before going down and suiting up and shit, like after we had our little pregame meal. And when I would make a big hit, I was a defensive lineman. When I'd make a big hit or like sack the quarterback, which happened quite a bit, I'd knock somebody's dick in the dirt. And as my face mask to face mask, I would say, "Damage Incorporated, motherfucker," right in their face. That was my shit. So anyway.
Oh my god! I thought he was going to say I yelled Orion at him.
No, Ryan! No!
God,
This kid's really into astronomy. What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
It's like
What's that, Zeke? Can't hear you.
legit psycho.
yeah. He's like fucking Latimer from the program.
Dude, I saw that the night it opened. I saw it before they took the scene out of him laying down on the road.
Yeah, I have the cut of it with the scene in the road. I had fucking Latimer was the man.
Yeah, my whole football team actually went and saw that together.
That's funny.
The movie, The Program, for the you guys that don't know.
Yeah.
What you got, Aaron? What's your next one?
All right. Well, I thought people would be less likely to know this one.
I've seen you show it.
I thought that said super fart.
Yeah. No, that's your alias on the screen. Man.
Holding a fart.
4 times sound raising. And I didn't know what the hell that was supposed to mean until I'd already had it for a few years. And I realized, oh, wait, there are 4 songs on here. So they're raising sound 4 times. That's like the kind of that's a native English speaker could never come up with a name that good. Let's get to the fucking song titles. Chub Chub Cherry, Brain, God, and Head Tear of the Drunken Sun. So these guys, they wanted to be a prog band. You know what I mean? And these songs are long and intricate, and they have all these parts and shit. But they were a 3-piece, and they just fucking, I don't know, man. They just wanted to rock, I guess. They didn't do a lot of overdubs and shit like that. They pretty much just played it balls out. And this record just fucking smokes. I've heard people compare him with Rush. The singer has kind of a high voice, but he's kind of more yelpy and not as technically competent a singer as Geddy Lee. You know what I mean? So I like this guy way better, honestly, anyway. But it just has a ton of character, and it's just a weirdo record. And if you're into 70s hard rock, especially German shit, this record's fucking essential. It's 1971, and I absolutely love it. It's been a while since I hyped it. So
it's 71. I thought it was something newer.
Oh yeah, no, this is 1971, man. This isn't an original either. This is a reissue because originals are expensive.
Wow. I think I remember you showing that before.
Yeah, I've probably shown it a couple times, but it's been a while for sure, you know. It's funny, one thing about pulling these records is for the last year or so, when I haven't been really listening to a lot of metal, I've been listening to all this stoner shit. And since that's kind of newer to me, I didn't really feel right starting to make really grand statements about any of those records. So it's shit, man. I have to go back a couple of years now for what kick I was on back then. But anyway, this record is always a favorite, man. I bust it out all the time.
Right on.
I'm sorry, Aaron. I didn't hear anything you said because Frank farted. He's sitting at my feet.
Shit.
Dude.
Look how red this malt liquor is making my face, by the way.
Well,
you
want to switch? Because this little dude, I don't know what he ate. His bed at my table, his bed's at my feet.
George is
Probably
all
dog
pale.
food, man.
I'm gonna fucking throw up in about 2. I got the window open and everything. Jesus, dude.
What you got, Zeke?
So
First
if
of all-
you see smoke, it's my incense because I had to light something. Sorry.
The ice cream truck's outside.
I
Is that the
hear
ice cream truck?
ice cream.
Oh,
Ice cream truck.
ice cream and malt liquor. It don't get any better than that. What flavor goes best with malt liquor?
Bomb pop, baby.
He's going. He's going.
No. It's funny because they're all ran by like a bunch of Pakistan. I live in a big Pakistani neighborhood, and they play Jingle Bells year round. I don't have the heart to tell them. God bless them. I love hearing Jingle Bells in July. Fuck it.
Do they have the wrestling? Remember the old wrestler ice cream bars?
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah, those are great.
God. All right, Z, go ahead. If everybody's done, let's let Z
Sorry.
go.
All right. Here,
Grouchy Greeno back again.
Yeah, I know. I
Light
can't help.
him
I got
down.
a farting dog down here. Jesus.
you guys hear me at all?
You're cutting in and out, dude.
I don't know.
Who is?
How's that? Is that better? Is that any better?
Yeah, I think if you get closer to the mic, it sounds
Yeah.
better.
All
That
right.
sounds a lot better. Oh my god, yeah, that's
Right.
way better.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I don't know how I'm going to feed. Aaron made this whole eloquent, very articulate talk about this very obscure record. That's an awesome record, by the way. I have that record. Not a lot of-
Right on.
Next thing I know, it's dog farts and red face. Pakistan.
I'm sorry, man. My eyes were watering and everything.
Shut the fuck up. No, I'm just all the records I have are like obvious and stupid. And I really feel stupid because I really don't even like I pulled like really odd. I didn't pull Silver Bart and like cool shit. I pulled like really
Nah,
odd.
man.
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
There's nothing wrong with that at all because that's
you
the
guys-
easiest thing to get out of the way
this
is your
thing, and
favorite
it's like,
record.
you guys know all these records. Like, this it's just
Dude.
adolescence, like
So Zeke, how does that version of that Zeppelin sound?
fucking great.
I was gonna say it's got. I've never heard.
This
I've never
record's
heard.
worth like $200, $300 because
I
it's
know.
new MoFi, so it's like stupid.
Wow.
I was lucky. I lucked it. The funny story about this guy is that this dude died when he was like 21, and he had a whole record. He had a whole room full of like immaculate, like perfect MoFis and nice stuff. And my buddy owned a record store, and he like bought all this stuff, and I got first dibs on a lot. So it was really,
Right.
I got this too. I was really lucky that way. This is Ziggy Stardust, like MoFi.
Jesus.
Really
Wow.
perfect.
Even Highway to
That
Hell
one
is
I
more
have.
than top 100.
What's
I
that?
have that. I have the David Bowie.
It's not in your
MoFi.
top 100, Aaron.
Oh no, it totally would be.
Oh.
Ziggy Stardust and Highway to Hell both.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just classic, classics. I mean, I feel stupid because there's nothing for me to add. Also, going back to the Metallica thing, my favorite's Ride the Lightning. Also because of adolescence, not because it's better than, not because it's perfect or anything like that. I mean, Rain and Blood and Master Puppets are probably objectively more solid records, but just because the sentimental value would be Ride the Lightning for me.
And that's what makes it your list, man. I mean, that's I think what makes these albums, end up on your list. And dude, your Zeppelin 2, the MoFi pressing.
Yeah.
I have that also. Crazy story. Coming home from work one day, went a back road. It was this old shanty house, and it said yard sale, and it was just crap. You know what I mean? Like crap.
Mhm.
But I saw some records, and I stopped and went in. And was looking through, and it was all this crap. But sitting in there was that,
Jesus.
and
Wow.
Allman Brothers Live at the Fillmore.
MoFi?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I'm
dude.
like, how much are you selling your records for? And he's like, 75 cents a piece. I ain't coming down. I'm like,
you
buck
got it.
50. Here you go. I'm out of here, brother.
Yo, did they ever? I'm sure this is a dumb question since you have Zeppelin 2 MoFi. Did they do all of them?
I'm
Or
not sure
just
if they
certain MoFi, just certain titles from Zeppelin.
Van's still in here. He'll know.
Vance will know.
Because I would love to hear a MoFi the first album. That's my favorite Zeppelin record.
Yeah, that's me too.
I think there is a MoFi of the first one. I don't think there's a MoFi of 4.
Yeah, I
Well,
can't remember
Vance
seeing
would
4.
know.
That's what I was thinking. Like,
Wow.
Yeah,
That'd be
I've
the one
only-
you think they would do.
yeah,
I've
right?
only ever seen Zepp 2.
Yeah, he said he only did Zep 2.
Is that
Oh,
wow.
okay. Well, that
That's
explains.
weird. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you choose that? I mean, I love Zeppelin too, but
maybe
I always
Zepp-
thought that was weird, man. I've never seen any other Zeps. Like every time we get a MoFi collection in, Zep 2's in there. And I'm like, I say to Dave at the shop, I'm like, we never see any other Zeppelins. It never dawned on me that they didn't do any
pretty-
other ones.
they're pretty tight-fisted with their stuff. Maybe they just wouldn't let them do it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird that they just
I think
did
that's
the
probably
one.
Jimmy Page's favorite record of the ones they did.
So what do you
There you
guys think? I don't know this. What do you guys think? How do you think they do the MoFis? Like they license them from the labels
They
themselves?
gotta get masters. This is the big.
I was
thing.
gonna say,
They gotta
like-
have a master, you know.
Now is the MoFi all one label, or is it all
Yeah.
different labels that put that?
No, it's only one company that does
Oh,
that.
okay, all right, that explains.
There's
Never mind.
there are a couple different ones, like what was it, Super Disc and MoFi? And,
Yeah, I never
So-
messed with any of
So
them. I don't
you,
really
you know how
know.
you were talking about the Allman Brothers live at the film. I have the super disc of that, and that's the best sounding record in terms of mastering, and it's incredible.
Do you guys go
mine
out
may
of
be
your
that
way for
also.
that
I can't
stuff?
remember. What's that?
Do you guys go out of your way for like the higher fidelity pressing stuff like that? Like you pay extra money for stuff like that?
Nah, I pay 75 cents for it. when I see
Fuck
it.
yeah.
Honestly, I don't go out of my way for
I'm
it.
strictly a 75-cent man.
I mean, if it pops up cheap, yeah, I'll pick some of them up. But no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend $30-$40 on it. I did
Nah.
buy those two priests they did a few years back.
Well,
But
they came out.
like
They were
20
cheap,
bucks
weren't
or-
they?
Yeah, like $20.
That's what I thought. I got them too
And I think they did a Twisted Sister, didn't they? But it was like stupid expensive. It's like,
last year.
yeah,
I didn't. We didn't even bring it in. We
I
usually.
mean, I'll see
It's
people
not.
like, "Hey, it's Supertramp, Breakfast at Tiffany's, MoFi," and I'm like, "Okay."
75 cents.
I mean,
yeah,
it's
but
not
then
it's not a terrible record, but
Yeah.
then you look it up on
Some of the titles
Discogs,
they
and it's
have
like
are really questionable. Like, why the fuck is this a record? Anybody needs it. Incredible, but you know,
That's why I asked the
I think
question,
it-
because I saw some titles that were MoFi titles. And I'm like, why would they do that?
because they had licensing and they had the master.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if it's all the same label, it makes sense.
Who was the dude on here? Robert Z. Remember? He was
Mhm.
all into that stuff, man. I don't know if
Oh,
he's
yeah.
still around.
So I used to sell records, and I can tell you that those kind of collectors are the worst to deal with
Oh,
I know.
because they do not
Um,
want. They only want the very best pressing and the most perfect copy, and they don't want to pay you for it. And it's like
Yeah.
they're an absolute nightmare.
Those guys always wonder, not Robert Z. I mean, nothing against him, but I always wonder some of those guys that are so anal about it. Are you even playing these things? Or is it just, it's got to be perfect? My God, you can't put a needle on it.
Well, I know guys that come in our store that can afford those kind of titles, whether they're new or used, because believe it or not, they still do the new ones. Like Greeno said, the Twisted Sister, but that was like, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was $48 list.
Yeah, it was stupid price.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're still doing them, and guys still come in when I put videos up of when we get a MoFi collection, and some of those titles like that are $300-$400, we'll put for $250. As soon as I put the video up, the phone's ringing.
Wow.
I don't
They're not joking
understand
around.
it.
They're not joking around, man. They're serious about
Now, but I mean, you have that Zeppelin too. Is there? I mean, I know you said it sounds great, but how much of a difference do you hear, or do you ever A/B it to the original press?
Yeah, so I have a Ludwig.
beats with
I have
it.
a Ludwig. I have like 4 copies of it.
Mm-hmm. And now, can you noticeably tell the difference?
Yeah,
Wow, I can too on certain things.
yeah,
Some
on
people
certain
can't.
things.
Yeah.
But of course, it's a record I've heard 1,000 times.
Right,
You know?
right. I was just curious to see, like, if since I would assume it's one of your favorite records since you showed it, but how you feel like, because I've done that with the AC/DC Power Age. I have like the UK press. How does that sound compared to the US press?
Well, if you're a nerd, it's fun. It's like, let's listen to
right.
4 of these in a row. It's,
Right.
And then my wife walks in. I'm like, listen to this, and she's like, "Yeah, go fuck
I
yourself."
don't give a
That's
shit.
the
I
same
don't
to
give
me.
a flying shit. Couldn't care fucking less.
Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
almost lost my fucking mind when they did the reissues in the 90s on CD. Remember the AC/DC did the first batch of reissues?
Mhm.
And on Let There Be Rock, the first track, Go Down, was extended from every other version I've ever heard.
Oh,
And
that's-
I almost shit myself. And it's like a 10-second extension. That's all it is. I'm like, oh shit, that wasn't there before.
The only MoFi I've ever played, I'm pretty sure it's MoFi, is that I played and it was like, wow, this is pretty impressive, is Asia, Steely Dan.
Oh yeah, that's a great sounding record
Yeah.
by itself. I would imagine it sounds amazing.
I mean, there's the reason why people pay hundreds of dollars. I mean, it's not for nothing.
Right.
They sound good, definitely. But I don't know if it's necessarily. Just depends on how necessary it is to you.
Yeah, right.
But
Like,
if you could cop one for 75 cents, yeah, do that. I would recommend.
Yeah, like if they did the whole AC/DC like Bon Scott catalog and MoFi, like I'd start with Power Age and then maybe I would get some of the other ones, but they're not titled. They're not. MoFi's not something that I would get like the whole run.
See, the thing about AC, like I want the Australian copy.
Yeah, that's what
I'm just a dork. Like I want the Australian copy.
I mean. I got them when I was a kid. When I got into AC/DC heavy, I got the Australian ones back then, which I was lucky because if I would try to get them now, I'd be dishing $200-$300 a piece for them.
Yeah, they can be kind of high now.
It's crazy.
But you were were we talking about that AC/DC record where it's like live at or live in Atlantic Studios or something? And that
the promo one, yeah.
Promo, it's worth like $300. That's a killer record too, by the way.
I bought a mint one back in 89 at a record show for $40. I still have it. It even has the Ed Shockey like sheet in it, which most of them don't have. Ed Shockey was a local DJ here. He's the guy that on the beginning of that broadcast introduces AC/DC. And now, like you said, now you look that thing up or you see it at a convention, it's $200-$300.
I had no idea. What was the other ones that went with that? Detective and wasn't there a third one?
I only knew a Detective and AC/DC, but yeah, I don't know of a third one, but I think there was. I think there is one. I can't
remember. I thought there was a third. I might be wrong.
There is a third one, but I can't remember who it was.
What's your next record, George?
Well, you saw it before we got on, but this band, because I was such a Kiss fan in the 70s, and the first time I heard this was on 94 YSP's Metal Shop here in Philly. And I think I told this story before on here, but I went and bought this album, and the song wasn't on it.
Oh, yeah.
The first WASP.
Great album, man.
Yeah, and I thought like Fuck Like a Beast was on here because this was the only thing they had in the WASP section when I went to pick this album up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had heard it that Friday night or that Saturday night, like the week before on Metal Shop. And they played Animal on the radio here. And I think if you look in one of the records, if you look in this record, in the special thanks, Blackie gives a special thanks to the DJ in Philly for playing Fuck Like a Beast on the radio here in Philly because nobody else would play it. But how disappointed was I when I got home and listened to the whole album and that song wasn't on there.
How long did it take you before you found the EP?
I didn't. Oh, that's a great question, man. It was a long time because our at that time I didn't know of independent record stores, so I only did them all. You know what I mean? Until I probably found out about the indie record stores around the area. I would say it was definitely before the second album came out, but it wasn't, maybe 6 months after this came out. But having said that, that's like with that song not being on that record and going through this record the first time, I was blown away how fucking badass that album is.
Yeah, I love that record.
Every song on the record, too.
My first experience with that record was my mom took me tape shopping in the mall here in middle of North Carolina. And we go up there, and it's like I talked about before, that Metallica, even more so. It was middle of the Satanic Panic or whatever. So as I'm looking through, I can't remember what tape I was looking for, but I saw some like older kids. They were over in the metal section, and I saw what they were looking at, and it was that tape. And I was like, I went over there and grabbed it, and I went over to my mom. I was like, Mama, you know what this stands for? We are Satan's people. And she was like, well, good Lord, put it down then. And so I went and put it back on the shelf. But that, little did I know, like so many years later, I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking badass.
Dude, the first time I heard Wasp, like I said, I heard Animal on the radio. And you know, I was like, I love these guys. They said fuck in the song. I want to go buy this song, you know.
That was your standard at
Yeah, at 14 or whatever, at 13 years old. Yeah, you know, it came out in 84. So,
And I hate to say it's probably pretty fucked up to say, but like, and when I saw the Chris Holmes scene in Decline of the Western Civilization,
Yeah.
I kind of like Wasp even more.
oh yeah,
I mean, now as a grown up watching it, it's like, oh, it's fucking sad. God damn,
it is
man, get some
sad.
help.
Yeah, but
But,
back
like,
then I'm like,
Back then, I'm like, raise hell, shit in the bed, baby.
yeah, that's the way I felt too. Like,
Yeah,
fucking keep
yeah.
pouring it. Yeah,
The only
Aaron.
sad part back then was in front of his mom, which is fucked up. But
Yeah.
that's what I always thought that was the best part of it. I'm like, look at this dude getting fucked up in front of his mom. Right on, good for him.
What are your thoughts on that, Aaron? I don't know if I've ever heard you talk about that album.
But I think it's fucking great, man. I think it's probably a better album because it doesn't have that song on it, though. To tell you the truth,
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I mean,
That's a good point. That's
when
a
that
great
song
point.
came out, I was like, oh man, you know, it seemed kind of intimidating and shit too. By the time I actually like checked out the band, I only have that one actually because like I was at a record show in San Francisco and someone had a copy for like $5,
Mhm.
and I was like, I guess God wants me to have this record because that's about all I'm willing to pay. And now like I like it a lot more than I did then, but even so, that album's better without the song.
Yeah, you're right. It does. It flows better.
Right
Although
on.
Show No Mercy should be on the record too, but that's
that
such a
goes
great
for
song.
that album's going for stupid money now too. Pretty good money.
What,
Really?
Wasp?
Yeah, pretty sure it's like $60 or something. You see them on eBay.
What's the deal with the band Wasp cover? Do you guys know that there's like an EP or something with a band cover? Because some asshat at this antique shop up here, and it's something a little perverse, it's something sexual, if you can imagine, with Wasp.
No, hold on one sec. Well, you
but it
guys
was-
keep talking. I'll be right back.
They were like $85. Now this is the place that had anything that was like, you know, Led Zeppelin or Rush or anything substantial, you know, rare record, $30. Like anything that was a major player was worth money.
Antique shops are all over the place.
That's the same place I got that. Actually, it's right down here somewhere. Tofat. I got that Tofat record, Tofat 2, for $8
Because they didn't know what it was.
They didn't know what it was. Actually, they had it marked. I had a spiritual conundrum. It was they had the sticker on it for Three Dog Night's golden biscuits, $8, and I'm like, well, that ain't Three Dog Night. And I pulled it out, and I'm like, rare earth, right? And I'm like, this is worth some money.
Here, let me see. Dude, I'll show you my Wasp collection real quick. Not individually, but just the stack.
You got that many Wasp records?
Wow,
These are all Wasp.
Or that
holy
many?
shit, dude! I'm impressed.
But I mean, it's all the singles.
The
Well,
sing-
that's not like the very first Pighead,
right on.
that bat, and like just like weird shit like the gold record. But what cover were you talking about?
I don't know. It's something sexual. I don't want to say it's an EP or like a 12-inch.
Is it the Fuck Like a Beast one? Does that mean
Yeah,
not
maybe
the-
it's Fuck Like a Beast.
That would
Is it it?
that's the only one I can really think of that's
Yeah. Was there different versions of that?
I don't know if there was different covers for it.
I mean, this guy may have been full of
Nah,
shit.
there
That
was
was, you know,
I'm just curious to see if you see the cover that you saw.
they may have had it covered or something, but I was like, well, shit, what is it?
I Want to Be Somebody 12-inch, or I mean picture disc.
What a great song that is. Holy shit.
God, I'm fucking myself all up here now. This one I love, the 12-inch. Here, I'll just show you real quick. Fuck it. And if you see it, just yell. That one.
No.
Did you get to see it, Bananas, or you said? They
I
had it all
mean,
covered up?
I may have seen it, but I may not remember it.
This is
But,
my favorite cover.
I figured
on
I'd
any-
know what it was. I figured you guys would know it lickety split. So the guy
Look
may
at
have been
this.
full of shit.
That's my favorite, like Wasp
That's pretty
12-inch
cool.
cover. Yeah.
That's like Nintendo game, like Boss all over it.
Yeah, I wonder, because now we're getting into the second album. These are
Yeah.
all promo singles. That's why I have so many fucking Wasp titles, because of the
Right.
promo singles and shit. Last Command,
Hmm.
Blind in
CD.
Texas,
I have that. I actually have a lot of that.
and the picture disc.
How big's your Wasp collection, Zeke?
I guess it's bigger than I thought. I have that too.
That's great.
That's the
Is there-
promo.
Is there a jumping off point for Wasp for you guys?
Jumping off point.
Yeah, where you stop giving a shit, kind of like Maiden, where everybody has like that point. It seems like where you're
The
like
first three
I'm good."
albums for me was kind of
Yeah, I everything I have here is like first 3 records, really, but I do have like Live in the Raw and Scream Until You Like It.
like everybody goes crazy on what's the one Headless.
Chicken, I always called it. It's Headless Children.
Yeah, I never got too much into that one.
What a great name for an album, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
How about this one? This is the Live Animal. Maybe that's the one.
Man, I don't
That's
know.
the dog raping the chick.
Dog. Oh, maybe that's. I mean,
Probably.
Well, that's
there-
what
there's a
that's got
possibility. That's.
That has to be it.
Yeah, wouldn't
I mean,
surprise
I
me if it's not it.
always said it was a dog raping a chick, but I mean,
I don't think
he's
she's
kind of humping her leg, really.
She doesn't look like she's complaining that much.
Brought to you by Jif Peanut Butter.
Because it was like that was the poster bag with the whole cover. That's the rare one, and then you probably saw it out there like this was the US one.
That's censored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Maybe
on the
that's what it
back.
was.
Still
Oh,
humping her leg
people.
on the back.
Are any of those worth like $1 bazillion because they're the original cover kind of thing?
I've never checked.
Huh. I don't know.
I would be amazed by that, but maybe I don't know.
There's the Headless Chicken. This is another one that was like night and day compared to
That's
their
a pretty cool
old,
cover, honestly.
That's kind of
Yeah.
where they lost me. Jesus Christ, they have a shit ton now.
promo
I mean, there's
12
so
inch.
many that have come out since I stopped paying attention to them. I
Mm.
can't believe it.
Yeah, I just pulled everything. But
Are they still around? They still tour?
Mhm.
Yeah, they're doing some 40th anniversary of the first album.
But without Chris Holmes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
really-
he's in and out. He hadn't been with them for a while.
Have you guys
He's-
seen that documentary?
I just watched it the other day. Yeah,
he's really
pretty good.
sick.
yeah,
Yeah, apparently he's not doing too good.
yeah. Blackie's still out there, and still everybody's still bitching about him. So
Chris Holmes has cancer.
Oh,
Oh,
does
wow.
he?
Yeah,
God bless him.
Well,
he's got-
have you heard about that mic stand that Blackie takes on tour? That's like 300 pounds. It looks like made out of motorcycle parts, and he can.
Oh,
mount
he
the
doesn't
thing and
use it
sing
anymore. Yeah,
He doesn't.
that-
Oh man,
nah.
I've heard horror stories about that thing where he refused to play anywhere unless they set it up for him and all that. And this thing
Yeah.
was like just out of control.
That was during the Kill Fuck Die tour.
I'll
That's
always
crazy.
be in the Chris Holmes camp with that little feud right there. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah,
man,
Absolutely.
they weren't Wasp without him to me. So
fuck no.
All
And
right,
he's
we
just a
got.
cooler guy.
I'm sorry I got off such a wasp there, but I want to try to find that album cover for Mikey.
my next one, we talked about some pop punk earlier, man, and this band this was like their third album, 96 or so. Went and saw them on this tour, freaking loved them. But anybody familiar with Groovy Ghoulies, World Contact
Fuck
Day?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you're the one who told me about them.
Oh man, freaking love this band. Just total, and it's all about sci-fi and horror movies and all that
shit.
stuff. It's just fun, man. There's just, if you dig, there's a fine line with that pop punk stuff, but I really dig these guys because they have that 50s horror sci-fi thing going on. Just awesome stuff.
that's awesome, dude. That's right in your wheelhouse.
Oh man, love it. We got to see them, and actually didn't know who was opening up, and ended up being the Donnas on that first.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
they were like 16 years old, and it's like, what is this? And they come out and it's like, they're fucking great. I'm gonna buy the album tomorrow, man. It was just
Dude,
fun.
that's
you know?
one band I miss is the Donnas, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They were so fucking good.
Yeah, they were fun, man. What do you got, Bananas?
Well, that's where I left off, I just figured out, what heavy metal was and got into metal. And then as I got into high school, you guys talked about it last night, Nevermind popped. And for me, I graduated high school in 95 and Nevermind was, I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit over and over and over on the radio. And then I don't know, one day it just really got in my head. And I'm like, who are these people? What are they doing? And got super into Nirvana. And I mean, whatever you're thinking, probably multiply that times a few. But it had me go back to their back catalog. I became like the aficionado, Kurt Cobain in like my school. Especially after he died, I read all the books and biographies and I knew what kind of cigarettes the motherfucker smoked. I mean, that kind of stuff. He was like my John Lennon or whatever. But after realizing what Nevermind was, I worked my way backwards and landed to one of the most influential pieces. You guys danced all around it last night, but nobody showed it. Nirvana's Bleach, more so than Nevermind for me. It just because it was rawer. It was the original band that I was in my first high school band, which is me and Jay, Carl the Envelope, you guys may know. We're all in this band, and we covered Love Buzz, which is actually a cover I learned later. And several of these songs. So they're so simple, but just good. And you could hear like the teenage angsty kind of shit. This is the 2009 20th anniversary reissue they did, which also includes a second LP that's got a live show on it from live February 9th. Damn, I need my readers. 1990, Pine Street Theater in Oregon. And it's got a lot of the stuff. Some of the stuff from Incesticide is on there, but it also has Sappy, which is one of my favorite Nirvana tracks. It's not on a major release. But this really set me, like I said, I was a good kid and I wasn't doing drugs and drinking and smoking or nothing, but like Nirvana and Kurt Cobain was the first, like, where I developed like a punk rock attitude. I don't care. You can't tell me nothing about, it was that first time I like felt that kind of vibe. And I'll say it. I was absolutely obsessed with Nirvana, and I was fans of other bands like in that genre and around that time, but I was neurotically bonkers about Nirvana. And this is my number one for them. It's the rawest. If you ask me, it's almost a Melvins homage, because Kurt drove the van for the Melvins for a little while and was huge fans of the Melvins, was constantly picking Buzz's brain about being in the music business. How do you tour? How do you rent a van? Where do you get a trailer? Like shit like that.
You know the Melvins just fucking hated it when Nirvana
probably
blew it. They were probably like, motherfucker.
Annoying little brother kind of shit.
Nirvana like blew up huge, and Melvins just grinding for years. They had to be so jealous.
Well, and then on Houdini, they're recording Houdini, which is a lot of people's favorite Melvin album. I think Kurt's supposed to play on it like a few times, and he comes in, and this is in the absolute peak of the heroin, where he is an absolute invalid. He's a vegetable coming in there and just like bonk, 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 and they're like, Buzz is like, we got to get this guy the fuck out of here. We can't even really. I think they ended up using a little piece here and there, but wasn't like it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Kurt from Nirvana playing on a Melvins record, and it was going to blow that would have blew the Melvins up.
Would have helped them out a lot. Yeah.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you with Bleach, man. That album. And what was it recorded for? Like $800?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
To me, that's what in my teenage years, that's what rock and roll sounds like, was the way Bleach was recorded. Jack and Dino. I mean, when is Jack and Dino?
Dude,
it's a Sub Pop. I would have
recorded that with like one mic, a 2-inch tape, and like one mic in the room, just like you're sitting right there.
And
dude, how I came to that album was a friend had it on a copy of it on TDK tape, right? No track listings written out, nothing. It just said Nirvana Bleach. Wow. And he played it for me. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. I need a copy. So I copied it on a TDK and it said Nirvana Bleach. I had no idea what they look like, no idea what the track listings were or anything for probably like 8 or 9 months. But
wow,
just played the fuck out of that, man, and loved it. And finally tracked down. I have an original pressing on Sub Pop on the CD, not vinyl.
Yeah, I think I got an OG on CD actually.
Yeah,
I have an OG on vinyl.
Do you?
Really
nice wow,
really nice copy too, which is like crazy because they're usually fucked up,
Well, and you know what?
He wanted to know if we ever heard the demos of Randy Piper singing with WASP.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Is that for real or no? I would imagine that's fake.
Another thing, not only did Nirvana do all that for me, but because I was so hyper obsessed with it, and that led me to other bands like Tad and Mudhoney. I had to kind of work my way backwards, and I've especially like MTV would do this like 30-minute like Tabitha Soren hosted, who Yeah. Tabitha Sword. Let's take a little quick second if we can. But they would do it like a grunge special, but there would be like just a few seconds. They would play little clips of like Tad and Mudhoney, and they would show it on the screen. I would write it down, and I would go like look it up and figure out what it was. It was right before the internet, so it was a little tougher. But
dude, I could never connect with Tad, but that first Mudhoney album is even with Bleach for me. However, you started getting the Tad reissues,
yeah,
and I was like, I need to check them out again. You know what I mean? They didn't click with me, and holy fuck do they click now. I went and got all the reissues I could get so you got me onto them.
I think Tad is the best example of grunge. If you're gonna use the term grunge to classify something, a lot of the other bands are they're in the same area, they're in the same regional scene, but there's something like different about Tad is grunge. It's heavy and melodic and like gnarly and feedbacky and like all of that. With a punk attitude kind of thing. They took the best of both worlds, in my opinion, until it got the term and the kind of the genre kind of got ruined.
You ever listen to the band Green River, the Seattle band Green River?
Yeah.
That's like a missing link between hair metal and like grunge. How? God, because I didn't know any of that shit.
And dude, I was so anti Pearl Jam. I was such a Nirvana guy that I'm like, Pearl Jam, they play guitar solos and shit. They ain't nothing but it's grunge. It's flannel shirt with it's glam rock with a flannel shirt on. That's what I said. Because Cameron
I was a
huge
Soundgarden kid, so I thought they were like, I thought
it was Green River was somebody from
Mudhoney and
one of the guys from Mudhoney, one of the guys from Pearl Jam.
That's what I thought.
There was like several guys that later went on to other bands.
Paul was great too. They were out of Oregon.
Yeah, what I really don't like about Tad is how much at times he can look like me. That's what I don't care for.
Shit, that was me 10 years ago.
Yeah, George and I both.
Yeah.
Dude, I tell you, the band that's like the pivotal moment of all that shit is Mother Love Bone. If you think about Andy Wood dying, what would not have happened if Andy Wood hadn't have died? You know what I mean? You got all those dudes that went on to Pearl Jam and all that. It was like, that was a big, and they were set,
Mother
man.
Love Bone was really the first one to like break on MTV.
They were set to,
yeah. And I didn't get it. I don't know about you guys, but Mother Love Bone didn't hit me at all.
I didn't get it.
Oh my God. I fucking love them.
Dude, I was, like I said, I was the biggest, for somebody that lived in middle of North Carolina, I was so entrenched in the like grunge scene up there. And, I remember, I don't think I really knew of Mother Love Bone before Andy Wood died, or I just heard of him, and it didn't really pop up in front of me. And after he died, it became this whole thing, and I started listening to it, and I'm like, God bless him. But it seems a little glammy singy to me. It's a little polished.
That's why it was like massively
accessible.
Yeah, it was massively accessible to people. That's why they blew up huge and could be on.
Yeah. And to be honest, George, I would think that would be the band out of all that bullshit that you would like out of all of them.
Maybe I got to give it I haven't listened to it in probably 30 years, bro.
Yeah.
it's not bad, but he was a little too rock and roll singery, where a lot of the grunge guys were like unassuming and didn't want the spotlight, and like he was like long hair and like
he wanted to be David Lee Roth is what
exactly.
He wanted.
Well, I thought if I'm not mistaken, weren't they sort of a glam band before they turned to kind of write different, actually before he started doing massive drugs?
Very much so, I think.
That's what I thought. Mother Love Bone.
Yeah, he came out of a band called, was it Malfunction or whatever, I think, and they were total glammy.
That's what it was. Yep, that's what it was. Yeah. Now that you said
they were too far away, that's why Seattle did, because they were too far away from LA. It's like Tesla was from Sacramento, right? Like, they were too far away from like to play in the bars of LA and stuff, so they kind of had their own thing. That's why they did something different.
All right, Aaron, what you got? Aaron's like,
what? We're showing records? Yeah, that's what.
What are you sniffing?
Blow him up there, George.
Sorry, I was seeing what the dog was doing.
Farting.
No, he's. I don't know what he's doing.
So is this our first reggae?
Reggae.
How did you know, man?
A lot of
you guy. If you see that guy, that's what this record sounds like, man. That's Prince Far Eye. And yeah, him like just like fucking dude, I don't know, it's really dry reggae. Like if you like the dub shit, that's kind of what this is. But like, you know, some is just drums even super low key and just like him sort of talking over it, like doing his little rap. But it's just great. Like he has some backing from some of the culture guys on Message from the King and like these moralistic songs like Commandment of Drugs and shit. And then like the religion shit with The Dream and Moses, and Foggy Road. But this whole thing is just so fucking good, man.
Wow.
What's the country of origin?
Jamaica.
Is that a straight
Iowa.
Jamaica?
Yeah, he kind of spent a lot of time in England, but yeah, he's from Jamaica. This record's 78, but like any of his records is fantastic. Fucking Prince Far Eye is so awesome.
Dude, reggae to me is so daunting. It's like jazz. I'm trying jazz, but like I look at reggae and it's like, God, there's so much, and I don't know what the.
You listen to Bob?
What.
Did you ever listen to Bob Marley?
Yeah, Legends. I love that album, but I've never, you know, the greatest hits, but I've never really dove into an actual album.
That's what I was gonna. So I was gonna show this, which is Exodus.
Oh yeah.
Which
Right
if you listen to Bob Marley Legend, which is one of the all-time great comps ever, this would be the point of the studio. Because it's like all those kind of, you know, it's a lot of great Natural Mystics on this, and Things to Say, and Three Little Birds, and One Love, and Jammin', and all Waiting in Vain, and all that shit. So this is almost like a greatest hits record too, because it's all hit.
Right on.
I got that early on when I started collecting records. Mine's beat to shit, but it's great. You know, it's you guys ever do? I've noticed this with what do you call them? Pickwick, like vinyl reissues. You end up with a bunch of tracks that are not on any of the studio albums, and they, in my opinion, although the quality can be kind of varying, you end up with some weirdo kind of. I've got some Animals and some Chuck Berry, and it's tracks that are not on any other album. But that's what I bought, a cheapo El Cheapo Kmart CD of Bob Marley back when I was like, oh, I like reggae, and it had what's up, Kilmer? little North Carolina connection.
Yeah,
but I picked up the CD because it was like a $5 Bob Marley CD, but it had ended up being some of my favorite tracks that are not on a lot of stuff. Kinky Reggae. That's a fantastic song.
There's a lot of back catalog,
and
yeah, for sure.
The I Need a Hammer. I need a hammer, a hammer, a hammer, a hammer to hammer them down. Yeah, but it's not on like your normal Bob Marley comps or even the super popular.
Well, I think Bob Marley had like 10 years of recording before any of the stuff on Legend was, and and then the way they recorded like Cox Sound Studios and stuff, it was like one song. That they would just do one song and then put it out immediately. And I think it was pretty fly by night half the time,
Yeah.
And like I say, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things I can't get my head around. It seems like it's so much. You know what I mean? And I have no idea about any of it.
Man, I tell you what's great.
The entry point for sure.
Oh, for 100%. What's great about, we were talking about college radio and shit earlier. I don't collect a lot of reggae because it is kind of like what you're talking about. It's kind of a daunting thing. And it's one of those genres I was super into at a time, but then I'm like, I kind of get flustered and I go do something else. But there's a college radio station. You probably guys heard North Carolina A&T University, big traditional black university here in Greensboro, HBC, Historical Black College. But they have a great station where they play a lot of R&B and jazz at times. But on Sunday afternoons, guaranteed, there's going to be a couple of hours of reggae, where the guy on the DJ, he sounds like this, Rastafari, and then it goes into the song. It's great. It's absolutely great. And there's another couple of hours behind that of it's this blues cat who's got to be 80, does the show with his like 13-year-old granddaughter. I said, granddaughter, go over and pick me up. And like he's almost incoherent, but it's like 4 awesome hours of college radio on a Sunday afternoon. So if I'm in the car, I'm like, hey, A&T. I know it's going to be some good shit, but that's where I'll leave my reggae nowadays. I don't really seek after it to collect, but it's great to hear.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to find now.
Yeah, it's like everything else. It gets crazy.
Yeah.
Times we live in, man.
I guess we're up to George.
Yeah. I told Greeno I tried to find my vinyl copy, but This was the first Muddy Waters I ever bought, and probably make my top 100. And that's I believe his last studio album from 1980 called
Yeah.
King B.
Yeah.
This album from beginning to end, if you're especially if you're smoking a little something or drinking a little something and you crank it, it's like you're sitting in the room with the band. It's fucking crazy. The production on this record, I swear it sounds like you're sitting in on the session.
Love
I don't know if it's the
Bob
remaster,
Margolin
but
was the guitar player for those albums.
what's that?
Bob Margolin is the guitar player on those last like 3 records, and they're all fucking killer. That is a killer record, King B or whatever.
Yeah, it's Johnny Winter.
Is Johnny Winters on it? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Johnny Winters on it.
Well, Johnny Winter's the guitar player on all. He produced all this too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Bob Margolin was in the Rolling.
Oh yeah, Bob and
yeah, he was.
Luther.
Yeah, Luther. Yeah, that whole band fucking killed. You could see that band on The Last Waltz.
You know, it's crazy, man. That last tour that they all did together, Winters and Muddy.
Yeah,
they used the same fucking band that whole show. And I mean, Johnny used his band, but then Muddy's band would come out and play, and then Muddy would play. So it was like you got 3 different sets of that.
That would have been fucking awesome, Jeff.
But yeah, King B and the track on here, obviously, Champagne and Reefer is
Stones do that song now.
Is the standout on this track. And that song alone, if you've really got your stereo cranking, that's the song. Like you close your eyes, you feel like you're sitting in the room with them. It's crazy.
Give me Champagne when I'm thirsty. Give me Reefer when I want to get high.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the greatest.
I think we're all blues guys here, other than Aaron, right? I don't think you're into blues at all.
I was gonna pull a blues album out that I didn't. I knew a couple of you guys were into it, but I didn't want to.
Well, my love for blues has definitely been heavy for the last 10, 15 years. I mean, that's 70% of my record buying has been blues records. So.
Wow. So what doesn't catch you, Aaron, about blues?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know how to answer that, you know.
Well, the only thing I can tell
a bit, you know, I like blues. It's not like that. I just don't really collect it like I do other things, you know.
Okay. The only thing I would tell Aaron, you know, if you're a blues novice, is if you were looking for somewhere to start, King B's probably one of the top. Later, you know, obviously it's his last studio album, but
I'm probably going to start with Howlin' Wolf if I go out and start buying blues records.
Yeah, I mean, it's that Chicago sound, though. You know, it's Howlin' Wolf, Muddy. You know, there's like a batch of guys from that Chicago area.
Hey, George, did I show you my Rooster Blues harp cop one of the times I was on here?
What is it?
I don't think
harp
so.
Cop?
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna grab it and show. I wanted to pull it for tonight, and I was like, it's a top 5 because it's a story I've told on record night for 10 years. Where I'm like, I learned who. I learned who John Coltrane was. He's from High Point. He's from my hometown.
Yep.
And went up to the little record store and asked the lady, we're in tapes though. And I was like, y'all got any John Coltrane? And but that same time I also bought this blues comp because I also liked harmonica a lot. And I've never seen it. And I did the same thing I did with that Dave Brubeck, where it was classic and I was going to wear the tape out. So I went and treated myself. Actually, I bought myself a sealed copy of this record for myself for Christmas. I'll pull it out. You guys talk about dicks or something.
I did this. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try and move my camera, but like, I'll have to look this way.
I agree with vintage vinyl hunter. Modern blues doesn't do much for me either, man. I like the old, the Chicago, the electric stuff is what.
That's the one corner of my office here, and everything over this side here is all blues.
Hell yeah!
And this rack's all blues here. Like
holy
all
crap,
these.
dude!
Yeah, dude.
So like
it's all like it's all pre-1980s blues though.
I think like this is like an 84 or something, 85 compilation. 88, I'm sorry. Rooster Blues. Had it on cassette. So I bought myself for Christmas, probably 2016, a sealed copy I found on Discogs for like 15 or 16 bucks. It's called Low Blows, an anthology of Chicago harmonica blues. But the cats on here are not your run-of-the-mill kind of blues cats.
That looks badass, man.
Is Johnny Horton on that?
No. Big Guitar Red and Good Rockin' Charles. Big
Oh,
Leon Brooks, Mojo Buford, Easy Baby, Good Rockin' Charles, Big Leon Brooks.
They're
Joe-
like club musicians that you never like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe
Yep.
Carter and Big John Wrencher, Golden Wheeler, Big Walter, Carrie Bell,
Big Wall.
Good Rockin'
I know
Charles.
Carrie Bill.
But
Rebellion.
Big Leon Brooks does a version of Pink Champagne. That's one of my top 5 songs of all time. You know
What
the song
label
Pink-
is that on?
Rooster Blues.
Rooster Blues,
Wow.
because I know that
88.
the logo looks familiar down the
And
bottom
this shit
left there.
Even with me stumble fucking around with this for a few years, this shit is crispy nice.
Nice.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I love how
Everybody- Yeah, man. You're freaking out.
all the blues guys are either big
Oh, wait.
or blind.
Hold on, leave that up there. Hey, Mikey, put that back up for me. The
Yes,
back.
sir. The back?
Yeah, thanks. Nice. That way I
Right.
could screenshot the back later when I go to rewatch this and check it out on Discogs.
Yeah, man.
Because I'll be purchasing that, man. I love those weird like Chicago blues that you don't know
Oh.
anybody on them, man.
And it's like that overmodulated harp sound, because that's a straight up harp record, and
Yep.
it's something about when it blows out. It makes
Yeah.
me just like it triggers some kind of shit in my ass.
It's
I
called
don't know
the
what
brown.
it is, man.
It's the brown note.
Pretty much.
The brown note.
More
All right,
like
where
a
are we
white
at?
note.
Am
You.
I up or?
Yeah, I had muddy.
All right. This one, I saw this band live on MTV back when MTV used to play concerts, like in 86, 87. Caught it, had no idea who they were. It freaking blew me away. The female singer was like, I never seen anybody so into what she was doing. The only thing comes close to me is like the Stevie Ray Vaughan on Austin City Limits, when he was just like closing his eyes and doing
Oh
this
my
shit that was
God.
like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
One of the greatest, not to interrupt, but one of the greatest
Yeah.
performances ever.
And that's about the way this was. She was playing guitar, playing piano, and just like gone. The audience didn't exist. She was just totally into the song or whatever. But it's Lone Justice. An album you want to see everywhere. It's a cheapo album.
I hear-
Goddamn.
Everybody praises that record, but like you just said, it's in every $2 bin.
Yeah,
bin.
it's an easy one to find. The album is good. All the songs are killer. But that live concert, it's probably on YouTube. If you can get a chance to check out that live show, it's just like, I never seen someone so into the music they're playing as her. She just lost it, especially on a song called Wheels, I think it is. Yeah,
What
she's
was-
playing piano by herself and just like gives you chills watching it.
Now,
Her
what-
name's Maria McKee. She's actually the cousin of Arthur. What's his name from the band Love?
Arthur Lee.
Arthur
Yeah.
Lee.
Yeah, she's that's her cousin. He used to take her around like in the late 60s, early 70s, or early 70s, mid 70s.
Wow. Did not
Yeah.
know that.
And
Not know that.
somebody said, Greeno, you said about current blues, you're not really into it.
Nah.
I'm just going to throw this out there. There's one current blues act that I listen to that I don't normally listen to, and that is my man, Chris. He knows. My man, Kingfish.
Dude,
Yeah.
saw him in Chicago live. Me and Cameron back in 2016, the year the Cubs won the World Series. We're both
This
Cubs
is
fans.
pre-first album for him, too. How old was he?
He wasn't like
70.
I knew who he was though, because I saw those news clips from Mississippi where he's like 13 or 14
Really?
and he's killing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and so we had booked a trip to go see the Cubs for like 2 or 3 days up in Chicago. And I'm like, oh yeah, and we're getting like a fucking Italian beef, we're getting some deep dish pizza, and I'm like, oh, we got to go to a blues club and shit, man. Fuck, what are we talking about? So I pulled up like schedules, and I'm like looking at the top blues clubs, and at Thea's, I looked, and I kind of looked at one of the nights like in between. It was like Christopher Kingfish Anger. I'm like, are you fucking serious? And it was like $15. We
Yep.
took like an Uber across. It was a little. I mean, it's not sketchy, but it wasn't like Wrigleyville where we were staying, and went in there, and it was like the smallest club in your town, like with sit down tables and ashtrays, and like, I mean, you can hear people sneezing in the back. It was it's that small, and I'm like, this is crazy. It's smaller than the first club I played my first metal gig in when I'm in high school. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but he comes in, and I'm like, yo, that's him, because he's a big motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize, and they don't really talk about this, but he's like, I think he has Asperger's, and so his mom kind of stays with him,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, you either gonna do this because you ain't gonna end up in the streets and end up doing some dumb shit, you know. So you're good at this. He's one of those guys that just kind of you see the piano,
He's
you
a
see
savant,
the notes,
man.
he sees the notes.
He does.
And
This kid
his
is.
mom keeps him like on time though, because he's out there.
I can't wait, dude, because he's coming to town. I saw dates. He's coming to Philly, and I haven't gotten a chance to go down and see him yet. But it was my buddies that died of cancer last year's last show that he saw was Kingfish, and Chris took a bunch of pictures with him. He didn't even know he was going at this point. You know, he found out a few weeks later he was sick, but so I have the picture of him and Dan together that I'm going to get from his wife. And I might even take her and go see Kingfish. So.
Dude, I'm telling you, not for nothing, the best live guitar player I've heard in my entire life.
He's amazing.
Not even close.
I'll check him out. I know who he is. I've seen pictures and all that. People talk about him.
I don't even think he's 21 yet, is he?
No, can't be.
Wow. I was going to say he's hovering right around there, 20, 19.
Crazy.
But that kid has I don't know, man. He's definitely channeling Stevie Ray, BB King,
Hendrix,
Buddy guy.
Yeah, Buddy and Hendrix, dude.
He's a big Hendrix guy,
all
big Buddy
rolled
guy.
into one. It's amazing. He's an amazing. He's one of those guys that every 20 years there's this one guy that you go, huh, this kid got something, or this guy has something.
Now, is his studio albums as good as he is live? Or?
Yeah, because he cuts them live. Yeah.
Okay, good.
You could tell by. I mean, he might do overdubs here and there, but you could tell for the most part that the albums are cut live. He only has two albums out.
With a lot of the more modern, like 80s up kind of blues.
That's my problem.
That's my problem.
The albums are lame. They're awesome live, but it seems like they're just.
Well, they got that 80s production, you know.
Yeah. If you can tell it's produced literally at all, 1%, you are ruining the blues experience.
Right.
But see, with Kingfish, it's a little different because it's not too polished, but it is a polished studio albums.
Yeah.
But they have that live audio feel, you know.
Well, I mean, that's the way Stevie Ray was. The albums are cool.
That's exactly right.
Live, it's 1,000 times better.
That's why I would have a tough time like going out, because I've run across like Kingfish records and I don't pick them up because I'm like, yo, I saw this dude in like a 55-seater club. I mean, you ain't gonna top that because I mean, that's not something I'm on. I don't know.
Scotty Strickland. There's early alligators I can deal with, like the early Hound Dog and all that stuff, Hound Dog Taylor and all. But it seems, I agree, the further you get into them, it's like they suffer from that too. They got a little too produced and all that.
Yeah, Hound Dog Taylor, one of his will end up on my top 100 for sure. But
I just read the biography of the guy, Bruce Ignauer, the Alligator Records guy.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
book, you know?
I loved Alligator.
He was under tremendous financial pressure. I think explains a lot of why they had to do a lot of that stuff.
Well, didn't he pretty much start Alligator because of Hound Dog? He was trying to get some of his stuff out, right? Nobody.
That was the first one, and it was a hit. That's the only reason he was able to do it, because he made money on that record.
Hound Dog recorded for years, but never put anything out except for singles here and there.
Well, and he said, he saw them in the clubs, and it was like he'd get drunk, and everybody was rowdy as shit, and everybody was like, "This is fucking great." And he was like, "We're not producing anything. We're going to the club. We're putting a microphone there. Like, you gotta have you gotta have the real experience. It's like, you're gonna ruin it, like." So he was trying his best not to ruin it, not to produce it.
Yeah, the Hound Dog Taylor stuff sounds great on Alligator, but like Greeno said, anything like 84 and on just had the same sound.
He had this big hit called Earth Shaker with what was her name? The Coco Taylor was a big hit.
That was a big record for them. Yeah.
But they didn't have. I mean, there's some of them that are really good. There's this guy Andre Dawson. Andre Dawson was a basebal player.
He was, baby.
Montreal Expos, baby.
Something Dawson, he was like amazing, like guitar. Some of those records are great, and a lot of them do suffer from production. I would agree with that.
Yeah,
but that's what they wanted. That's what was selling. They needed to make money. They had to make money.
Well, Kingfish is on Alligator, by the way.
Oh.
That makes sense.
All right, where did we stop? You up, Bananas?
All right.
Hey,
Yo, I got
there.
something. I got something. Don't none of y'all have in the till. That's great. But yeah, as I moved from like grunge through high school, got more into metal, and then started playing in bands. So me and Jay, we did the show with, and Carl the Envelope, and Jay's cousin was a singer. It was a mix of like some of the stuff we liked, like kind of grungy stuff. I mean, we covered Green Day, we covered Nirvana, like that kind of stuff. But we were enamored with this local band that Jay and I, more than anybody, followed like the Grateful Dead for like 3 years. At least. We didn't miss a show. If they played a show within 3 hours of us, we were there. 100%. And this past year, I've since become friends with the guy. And Jay and I even, we opened for him when we were a young band. They were so influential on us. The way I play guitar, the way I think about music. They never wrote like verse, chorus, verse stuff. It was all kind of written like a story. So there's all these like parts. Super heavy, also very melodic. The guy's voice at times was high and melodic, like King Diamond almost, but still had like a heavy, like gnarly thing. And the funny thing is, this is original tape. I wore it out. Like it's got a like in it right there.
Dude, is that the band I was talking to you about that's coming out on CD?
That is.
That was crazy, man.
And baby, there it is.
There you go.
Without it, my number one album of all time ever.
Wow.
Or band of all time. And this now this reissue of Dying Dreams. It's a local group for here. Like I said, they're very heavy, very melodic, but he plays stuff. You can tell he's like an Iron Maiden fan. I realize this now. He's playing a Stratocaster, very heavy riffs and singing really high over it. And then they drop it with this gnarly double bass and the heavy, like screamy voice comes over it. So it's got, and this is from like the 90s, and it's really got everything. So I guess, what's the name of this place? Heaven and Hell Records.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they've been doing a ton of reissues.
Yeah, so Heaven and Hell Records reached out to these guys, and they worked on this like remastered double CD release, which has the tape I just showed plus the demo tape, which I know them originally for, and another disc that's got some unreleased stuff and some of the later stuff. And it's got this enormous book and a very cool thing. It's all these pictures from shows and stuff. Like, guarantee you, Jay and I are in this picture. I mean, I don't even want to, but I tell you what, we definitely are. Is we're in the notes. They mentioned pork chop in the notes of this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is a great reissue and shit. And this is where it has all like the. It's got a bunch of show flyers. I think we're in here. We're on one of these flyers, but where it says pork chop on it, and my original my second band LSOC. But anyway, I ended up being in another band that was like, I mean, these guys were, they didn't really even tour outside of the state, maybe, but people that loved them fucking loved them. And I ended up being in a band where I mean, not for nothing, I don't want to toot my own horn, but we did bigger and better things than they did. Like, I mean, we opened for Slayer. We were sponsored by Jägermeister. We toured around the Southeast. We got to do cool shit. We talked to labels that didn't mean shit, but we did all that stuff. But when I still talk to this guy who I'm Facebook friends with now, he's a graphic design guy, like locally, just grown man, fucking husband, dad, cool guy with good taste in music and comics. Because he's like he's a comic guy. He drew all that stuff on the cover.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, when I talk to him, it's like talking to Kurt Cobain or John Lennon or something. We did way more than what they did, but I still feel going to fanboy mode.
Story. That's like Lars fanboying with Diamond Head is what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it never goes. I mean, I'm in my 40s. It literally never goes away. So when I,
fantastic.
because sometimes I'll tweet a picture and be like Saturday night and I got ODD on and fuck, and he'll like the picture and be like, oh man, you're too kind, cheers or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. Chris Ferguson said, like, Jay, dude, I'll call Jay, dude. Chris Ferguson liked my picture, bro. I can't help it. I just, because they're literally the most important, because that's what took me, like, kind of led up over, like, from rock and roll to like grunge to metal, and then this took me like over the fucking line with everything. And they're the reason I wanted to, like, well, the final reason. That was like the final form piece of, like, you have to be in a band, you have to get on stage, you have to do it. Because I saw this the first, like, local shows. I mentioned last night when Mr. Bizarro pulled out that Foo Fighters record. I saw Foo Fighters in '96 on a club tour. It was their first go around, and that was my first concert, because up until then, I did nothing but follow these guys and local bands. Were you guys like that? Did you follow local bands at all first?
Yeah.
Not at first.
Not at first?
Old enough to get into clubs and all that.
I worked with local bands first. I mean, I was friends with a couple of guys before I knew they were even doing anything.
Yeah, like that Foo Fighter show I was talking about. I was in college. My whole, like, high school thing, I didn't go to the Coliseum and see, like, Maiden or Primus or whatever. I was following local bands around. And it wasn't until like '96, I guess, is when that Foo Fighters thing was. That was my first, like, concert with bands that were, like, were signed and shit.
Dude, did you know that was coming out whenever I texted you about it?
I knew they'd been working on it, but I thought you were trolling me, because I played them on the show, and I've drunkenly randomly went into an ODD thing. I played it for Aaron the first time he came up here.
Yeah,
we went to Hippo Records in Greensboro, and on the way back, and I still had this tape in my car, because my car's got a tape player, and I was like, yo, man, look, hey, you may appreciate this. And you might appreciate this, because I didn't plan this fucking 3 weeks ahead of that time. I was like, dude, Metal Theologian's coming up here. This motherfucker's gonna listen to some ODD. I don't give a fuck. And he's gonna like it, and I don't want to argue about nothing.
I saw it was coming out and where they were from. I'm like, I wonder if Bananas knows this band. And he was just like, fuck yeah, like, holy shit.
Greener were going back and forth. I'm like, dude, they're like my favorite band of all time. I think I
blew me away.
Flyer when they're. I was like, and when it came out, I mean, it was. I ordered one. Jay ordered one. And I actually reached back out to some of the cats that we were, parking lot joint smoker, take a sip of liquor behind the car guys, and I'm like, yeah, I know you're a fucking dad with 4 kids, but look. ODD's releasing their shit, and I mean, you may want to snatch a couple of bucks out of your wife's purse and pick this shit up, because it's gonna be awesome.
How awesome is the age we live in, where stuff like that's getting released, dude?
I mean, I guess these guys, they look, Heaven and Hell Records, they look for, like kind of like what Ride and Easy does, or the Numero Group, where you look for overlooked scenes or regional groups of artists that may have gotten overlooked, and you're like, because they were bad fucking ass. It was crazy. The drummer, Chris Wheat, he's now a guidance counselor. His brother, who was a good friend of mine, is a principal. 2 miles away from my house, he's a principal, and he's the best drummer I've ever heard live. Ever. I've played with a lot of national acts and stuff. Nobody touches Chris Wheat. They're not even close. And he's just a fucking guidance counselor. He ended up playing in a Christian band. They were called the 7 Method. Then they changed their name to the Syndicate. And they were on like ECW wrestling at one point, when like wrestlers walked in and stuff. But we played with them, and they were badass. Like a Christian band that was very close to what we were doing. I don't want to say we were rap rock. We were nu metal with some funk, and I don't want to say rap rock.
Dude, I have something similar going on. I was in a band in college, and we played with this band called Brick Mistress. We played a few shows with them. They were out of the Morgantown, Wheeling, Pittsburgh area. They kind of played that circuit. And I have a demo, and they did some more that I don't have. But then come to find out, I think Shadow Kingdom got all their stuff together and is releasing it. And I'm just like, the age we live in, who would have thought that's coming out? And you guys may know the drummer from that band. Have you ever seen the video on YouTube of drummer at the wrong gig?
Yeah.
The wedding
That's
guy.
Stevie
That's
from
the guy.
Brick Mistress.
That's
Yeah.
the dude, yeah.
Played some shows with him. Crazy dude, man.
What did you say the band was?
Awesome fucking drummer.
I
He
bet.
really was at the wrong game.
Yeah. Dude,
What
those
did you
guys
say
were
the band
killing.
was?
Huh?
What did you say the band was called?
Brick Mistress.
Okay.
They did a couple demos when I was in the area back there. They were a 3-piece at that time, but after I left, came back home.
He was on The Office. Aaron Griffin said he was on The Office.
Oh, I don't know. Was he?
Who
I
was
have
it?
no idea. But they ended up being a 4-piece, and they got a guitar player that's pretty well known. I can't remember his name now. I don't know much about that version of them, but it just blew me away. It's like, man, this is just a local band that I played with and loved, and the fucking demos are getting put out.
That's awesome. Yeah, this guy I work with at the TV station, he was like, "Yeah, you collect records and stuff." He's like kind of real mild-mannered, and like he's like, "You into punk rock at all?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." He's like, especially like early punk rock and stuff. He's like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "I was in this band, and this is like one of my managers," and he was like, Burger Records reached out to us and see if they could re-release our tape, and I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, so they released. Those guys are kind of handsy, apparently. The Burger Records guys,
Yeah.
they got in a little trouble for a little touchy Weasley stuff. But anyway, they're called the Sarcastic Assholes. This guy's a manager at my station. Shramit, Ohio, punk rock band from like the mid '80s to late
Burger
80s.
Records puts out some good shit.
Yeah, no, he said Burger Records, and it's a black tape, yo.
Right on.
But he was like Burger Records wanted to put it out. I'm like, I know Burger Records, but anyway, yeah. I just
What
have
you got,
this in
Aaron?
front of me.
Let's get it moving again, I guess. What we got, like 2 more apiece?
I got one more.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got 2 more, but I can cut one of them out if you want to keep the show shorter.
Let's all do one more and we'll call it a night.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what do you got, Aaron?
I thought he froze.
No, that was me. I did, but I did it like in real life.
It was a TIA.
I was gonna hype this again for the last one. Okay. If you haven't heard Raven Bitch Tear Down the Walls, it's one of the greatest fucking things ever. But the other one I'm gonna hype is the Skilo record. It's another German one. And it's, you know what this album is? It's like the lost great Pink Floyd record. It's really kind of Pink Floyd-y. It doesn't quite have the English touch that Pink Floyd does, but they kind of lost that by the time they hit the era where they sounded more like this anyway. But it's like an awesome space rock record. When it rocks, it rocks. It doesn't ever do like the real like the Berlin style cosmic thing, like the Asherah Temple in that. It's more sort of progressive in its leanings. But when it's spacey, it's really spaced out and layered and just has all this weird shit going on. And some of it's even sung in German too. So yeah, here's the gatefold.
Is that an OG?
Yeah, I think it is actually. I had this for a long time. I thought it like this went one of my big purges, but yeah, it still has the sticker on there saying that it came with a poster, but the poster isn't actually in it. But yeah, this is on the BASF label.
Right on.
Which is like a fertilizer company, is what that shit stands for. It's kind of funny they branched out into electronics.
Dude, your description of that album has helped me out because I have a reissue of that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I didn't connect with it. And now I understand why. Because you just threw out Pink Floyd, and I'm like, maybe that's why.
I wondered why I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Well, I tend to be kind of hostile to Pink Floyd too. I mean, I find Roger Waters really easy to shit on, and he really deserves it too. Yeah, and like I used to really like the Syd Barrett stuff, and I do still like it. But like the older I get, the easier it is for me to sort of crack wise about Syd Barrett too, you know. But underneath it all, like I think Metal is a great album. I really do. And I think that what they were up to generally during that era, like before they broke, especially with Dark Side of the Moon, where they kind of lose me a little bit. What they were doing up to that era is like when they were really on, they could be really psychedelic and really rock too. And that's what kind of blows me away, you know, is combining the heaviness with the spaciness. And this record, there's no Pink Floyd record I'd point to and say that it sounds like that. but it does that too as far as its delivery. You know what I mean? When it's spacey, it's really spacey. When it rocks, it commits to it. You know.
Well, there's definitely something about it because at first I'm like, I'm not keeping this, but I decided not to. I want to give it another try or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, but something about it, and I think you touched on it with the Pink Floyd-y kind of. So that's cool.
Yeah. Do you like Hawkwind?
What I've heard, sounds stupid, but I have a shit ton of Hawkwind I've just picked up over the years cheap, and probably listened to like a tenth of it. But what I've checked out, I dig. It's just I need to really check everything out. Is what
They're one of those bands. I've liked Hawkwind since I was like 18 or something like that when I first discovered them. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really get into Hawkwind where I listened to the records and went, "Wow, this is fucking fantastic." Until probably like 8 years ago now, because I was still living in my old house. But it's since I moved to South Carolina, so within the last 10 years.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah.
But then something just sort of clicked where I was like, okay, I already thought these records were great. It's sort of like with Blue Oyster Cult more recently. I actually brought that up as a spare. This is like my spare record because sometimes when we get into these discussions, I'll change my mind about something. About one. I'll think that one of the ones in here is a bad pick after all. So this is my backup. I figured I could work this in no matter what we were talking about.
There you go.
but it's sort of like that where I knew the band for a long time and appreciated them. I mean, Hawkwind even longer than Blue Oyster Cult. You know.
Yeah.
But I've only had these records like 20 years. But yeah, it just sort of the light went on one day and I was like, holy shit. So if you haven't done that with Hawkwind, you might not do that with Gila either. Because that might be another touch point as far as the spaciness with the rock too. Mm-hmm. That might be a little less, that might evoke a little less hostility than Pink Floyd does.
Yeah. I don't know, Hawkwind and there's few bands like that where it's like, okay, I want to check this band out. And I pick stuff up as I go along, but I haven't got to check it out yet. Like Hawkwind and another one's Manila Road. I know you're a huge Manila Road fan, you know, but and what I've checked out, I've liked, but I haven't dove into everything yet, you know?
Yeah, that's how I felt about Hawkwind until it clicked. Frankly, that's the way I felt about Manila Road until it clicked one day.
Yeah.
You know, I liked them for a long time before I got really into them.
You got one more, Zeke?
Yeah. First of all, Aaron's put me onto so much. Sirith Ungol and Manila Road, and you put me onto Manila Road too, Greena. And Hawkwind. You know, I love Hawkwind, but I love that. I love space rock. I love the Cosmic or the whatever. I'm not really into Motoric kind of. I'm not, but Krautrock. I love that shit. Anyway, we're talking about comps. I wanted to show a couple things like these. They had these were like they were by state, these blues comps. This is Arkansas, and it always has these obscure like artists you've never heard of. Like this one has Junior Brooks and Sonny Blair and James Peck Curtis and Robert Dudlow Taylor and like people you've never fucking heard of, and it's awesome. Yeah. But what we were talking, so this is my favorite of all the modern like companies. This is the Brown Acid series.
Yep.
If you're a fan of Josephus Dead Band, that record, or the kind of it's like muscle car rock, I think, like Zeppelin, Sabbath, Deep Purple, fucking Jimi Hendrix, Grand Funk, that kind of thing, and it's like the real obscure like stuff no one's ever heard of. I love this. And
yeah,
what's the Southern Lord label? That one? It's like a doom label that does a lot of shit.
They do a lot of black metal too. But
black metal. You're talking
about Greg O'Malley from Sun.
Yeah, you were talking about Burger. You're talking about Numero Group. Numero Group's fucking amazing. There was, I love that shit. I think
I call those things like they're like rescue labels where they find this shit. They're archivist labels.
They really are, because I'm like into this stuff full time all the time, and they put out stuff all the time I never even heard of or never would have found. So,
hey Zeke, do you have that Numero one that's all like gospel funk shit?
Yes, and it's fucking kills.
With the black and white cover.
I can't. I'd have to find it, but if I could have every single Numero record, I would. They're pricey, but yeah.
Sly Johnson. I came across this like crazy fucking cheap. I have no idea who he is.
He's the one who did "Is It Because I'm Black?" A great record. His best record.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this has like a shit ton of. You know what I mean? So I picked it up. you said Numero, just automatically made you think of that, man.
Yeah, Numero's awesome. They do awesome shit.
And I've only checked out a couple out of that, but it's definitely cool. You know, that soul kind of R&B stuff.
You know,
DJ Shadow's involved with those guys a lot to rescue a lot of these.
there's money in that because like the DJ community, man, I follow some of that shit on Instagram, and the soul funk like DJ community, like they actually have money because they get paid, like to do good gigs and stuff. It's like there's real money in that.
That's literally how I got into collecting records, like as a grown up, was through like the DJ culture side of things. It wasn't like, oh, bro, I like the Beatles and Pink Floyd. It was like, I'm looking for breaks.
Yeah,
right.
And just for fucking around on the side, and like, oh, hit record on the laptop and get all fucked up and DJ stuff. But that's how I originally got back in it.
I've seen some of that stuff on YouTube.
Once he drove up the prices on a lot of that shit, it's their fault. I mean, it's because of them that I know it too, so I can't bitch too much. But they're also the ones who made it expensive.
You see some of that stuff on YouTube. It's such a different mindset than what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's
absolutely, completely different approach. I mean,
when I first started collecting records, what I was looking for was old soul and old funk because I knew they had breaks. And I could get the drum breaks. And I was also looking for children's records because I've always been a fan of that kind of shit anyway. But it wasn't to listen to. I was looking for the weirdo sample of like, okay, children, gather around. Okay, children, gather around, with a beat behind it. So I'm looking for those little like children's record samples you could put over a beat. And I thought that was always fun and stupid, especially on speed.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, George, what you got? One last one tonight.
Yeah, my last one. This is one I'll never forget. I read the review for this thing before I heard it in the East Coast Rocker.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that magazine, the newspaper from New York? No, I think it turned into the Aquarian.
Heard of it. I've never seen one.
Well, anyway, I read it, and don't ask me why it caught my eye, the review, but the headline in the review said Motorhead meets Jan and Dean. So I was like, all right, let's read it. So I read the review. Turns out I picked this up on CD because I couldn't afford the vinyl at the time. But then when I got it, this was started my whole Wildhearts thing, and that's the first
Wildheart.
Yeah, the first EP.
Right on.
And then when I ordered this one, like, I don't know, probably 20 years ago now on eBay, I didn't realize when I got it, it was a promotional copy.
Oh, that's cool.
And then it came with, how they come with the bio sheet.
Yeah. The promo material.
Yeah, the promo shit. And the topper was a fucking signed 8x10 of the original band.
Oh, right on.
So, but every song on this, it's only 4 songs, and this is the black vinyl, which I also have the white vinyl one, which my brother actually found for me during the pandemic, believe it or not.
Wow.
So it's like 20 years in between getting this one and the white one. But he was up at what's
Princeton?
that? No, the one. Did we go to that one?
Up in Allentown?
Yeah.
What the hell's the name of that one? That's a great store.
Yeah, he was up there probably less than a year ago, and I get a text. He's like, "Yo, I know you like the Wildhearts. Do you have this?" And I just, the only difference was it had the white, or it has the red sticker on it that says it's a white a white vinyl. And I was like, "Nah, man, how much is it?" And he was like, $40. I'm like, "Grab it." So.
Right on. My last one, everybody's, I hope will agree on this, but might not be the one they would pick from this band, but it is for me.
Ah, fantastic.
It's my favorite Sabbath album.
I just listened to that at work.
Really?
Yep, like on Saturday.
Dude, it's like every song is fantastic on here. And actually, Mob Rules is the same way. It's probably my second.
Mob Rules too. Yeah. I have a great copy of that with like a German copy, and it has the German tour dates on the front, and I just geek out on it so hard.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a great record.
That is a great record.
I love the Ozzy era, but man, when Dio got in there, it just went to a whole nother level for me.
The more I get, the
I
more I
actually
like
love all
Dio.
the eras. You know, I love them all.
I do. I'm
Yeah.
the same way. I'm the same way.
I think we talked about this before. I'm not so much. I'm not sure if it was with the guys we have on now, Greeno, but didn't you or I read? I think we texted each other that Tony Iommi had found the masters for the Born Again album.
Oh no, I don't remember anything about that.
Yeah, and he's finally going back in and remixing the record so it sounds
I've
like
heard
it
about
should.
that.
Yeah, I'm on the fence on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm just fine with how that record sounds.
I am
Dude,
too.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
Something
charge
Hill is my favorite
$50
track
for that.
though, too.
I guarantee you, they're gonna charge $50 for that,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna have to have it, and that's why it pisses me off.
To be honest, I'd probably skip it. I'm not.
No, I think that
Totally
album
should.
deserves a nice remix, man. Because I always thought that was
Totally
missing
should skip
something.
it. You
The cool thing
absolutely
about-
should skip it, but I won't. I know I'll do it.
You know, Chromie D always said if that had a different title from a different band, everybody would be clamoring about how much they want to get this, Clam Hammer album from the.
He's right. Yeah.
But because it's Sabbath, it's like holding it to a standard of like the Beatles, and you're like, yeah, it's good, but the Beatles have fallen off, kind of thing,
The production on that album is part of that album. You know what I mean? That's why I don't know.
Yeah.
I
That
just
album
think
is such acid rock.
If that was a
to me.
private press or some kind of
Yeah.
weirdo band you'd never heard of other than that album,
Yeah.
everybody would, all the metalheads would be jizzing over it.
Right.
But
I'm
because
fine with
it's
that
Sabbath,
stuff. I'm used to it. That's the way it's supposed to sound. Like I remember when I went away from the computer last night, you guys got talking about Injustice for All and how shitty it sounds.
Yeah, see, we weren't really talking about you, by the way,
Yeah.
when you were away.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about Metallica's Black Album. Like, if it had been a different band, like everybody's like, "What a great record that is! It's a fucking amazing record, bro."
Yeah.
I don't know.
the Black Album specifically for me, I commented. I've listened to it so much when it came out because I loved Injustice for All. I didn't think about how there's no bass in the mix because I was like in 8th grade. So fuck off. That wasn't part of the
And you
conversation.
didn't know about Cliff Burton, and you weren't,
I mean, I knew Cliff Burton, but I didn't know it was like a thing that were anyway. All I knew was there was a cat that brought his guitar amp in on like some day, some Friday, and played one in our classroom, and I damn near lost my mind. I just wanted to go home and like, you got to show me how to play. Anyway, the Black Album came out several years later. I was like a sophomore in high school, and fucking new Metallica album, and I played the ever living piss out of it. So much that like today, I could care less if I never hear that record again.
Yep.
I've mentioned this before, almost a band I'm like that about. And I hate to say it because they were a big influence and such an important band. And later in my Rage Against the Machine, I don't care if I ever hear them again.
Just heard it so much.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I respect the fuck out of them, but I just.
Yeah. That's the way Nevermind was for me, and I mentioned that last night. It's just
I was the same way, dude.
Yeah.
And especially once I became super part of I like the raw Nirvana sound, and that's what it was all about when they were more, grungy and edgy and da-da-da. I was like, never mind the Butch Vig. He fucked that all up. What he did was he made them millionaires, and so that I learned what it was at all. But and
I kind of feel that way about Injustice for All, which I don't even own, and I feel like I've heard it a million times. But I bet if I got a good copy of it and I played it, I'd probably love it. But I never listened to that. I just heard it so many times. Like,
yeah, it's nostalgic. But there's some bands that like Rage is the first one I think of that I just, even if they're like the first Rage album was $10, got
do you
marked
guys
down.
fucking remember that Rage was gonna tour when COVID started, and then their first show was gonna be like New Mexico, and everybody was pissing their pants, and then like COVID happened, and then like nobody, just never happened. Anyway,
yeah, they'll be back. I think they'll be back.
It's crazy how radio and MTV can just kill shit, or did back in the day. It's like I still
100%.
can't.
it was dominant, man. It's be hard for people to even understand now. It's like it was fucking dominant.
Yeah.
Like that,
I mean,
that was it,
I still can't listen to the Final Countdown.
Ugh.
Right. Heard it too much, man.
Dude, that's the longest running joke in the history of everybody. It's like
It's still
all you
fun.
have to do is go doo-doo-doo-boo, and everybody knows what you're talking about. Like,
You have to go what?
Start laughing.
You have to go
Yeah.
what?
Here, Mike.
Doo-doo-boo.
Great
Aaron,
band before that album, though.
Aaron, you own that record? You own that Europe record?
No, I never
Aaron
have
hates
it.
it. God,
Do you
I
have the
love it.
first two?
I have the first one.
First one.
You
But I
do have a
think
Europe
copies of it.
record, though. You got one Europe record, just not that one.
Oh, the first one's fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
I'll fucking sit here and pump that record up.
Yeah,
All right.
totally.
It's fucking great. I've been afraid to check out the second one. Some people have told me it's good too, and some have said, no, dude, it's crap. And I mean, you know, some of the people have told me it's kind of crap. I kind of trust their taste a little bit more.
Oh, Rage Against the Machine is playing in Raleigh. Oh, it's funny you mentioned that, Aaron, because actually one of the best live shows I've ever seen was Rage Against the Machine and Wu-Tang back in like 97.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dope fucking show. I remember like when Wu-Tang came up, they started like 6 of them like lit blunts on the front of the stage, and then they're just passing down in the crowd.
I
Little-
fucking dude, I
Little
love
kids,
Wu-Tang.
fucking
Night
parents.
flips.
You gotta respect the neck.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw Rage Against the Machine on the Lollapalooza tour they did.
Hmm.
Had no idea who they were when that first album come out. And I don't think anybody knew who they were. They were early on in the set.
Yeah,
and they started playing, and you could watch the crowd like,
Yeah.
and it just kept growing until it just went fucking
Yeah.
crazy. And
Their
the very
bass
next
sound,
day,
their bass sound like is huge. And on stage.
Especially when he starts screaming, "Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me."
Dude, how I learned about Rage Against the Machine was Freedom, that first track they released.
Yeah.
I heard it on 120 minutes at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I used to keep MTV on when I was sleeping, like a normal 90s high school kid would.
Yep.
And I was asleep. And he started dun 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 dun. I heard the freedom. And when he hit the scream, I just went and sat straight up in the bed. And I had a notebook over there, and I wrote down what it was when the thing came up. Because I was
That's
like,
so funny.
Mike started
man.
doing his homework again. He started stuff.
what the fuck
I've-
is this?
I've done the same. Dude, that's so funny, man. I've done the same shit. Like you wake up and you like jot it down because you know if you miss it, you miss it. You know.
I did the same thing with the Deftones. They came on, and I remember thinking like, it sounds like, because it's like I'd never heard anything like the Deftones, and I was like, it's like Metallica, but like they're singing like Nirvana. And I wrote Metallica plus Nirvana, and then I wrote Deftones underneath it.
Wow.
That's how I became a big fan. Anyway,
not to ruin a future video, but Rage is on my list. That first album, love that album.
Yep, that's a
so
great.
it's great. It's fantastic.
Where
And
we
let me
at?
ask you this, Greeno.
Mhm.
Did Thunderhead make your 100?
Nah,
Wow.
good album, but nah, didn't make it.
All right.
So Mike? You got one left?
I got one left.
Okay, well, let's end
And-
the night with you.
Okay, I like the sound of that, baby. You know, as I kind of came around the world, and I talked about a lot of my stuff has been like nostalgic and like involved in my childhood and coming up and whatever. But whatever I'm hyper into at the time always changes. It's always ebbing and flowing, like baby. I mean, all the time for different genres in the last 10 years, like all over the place. But probably what I would consider the most intelligent in having a conversation will be like stoner rock, doom rock kind of stuff. Where it's kind of intimidating talking to some of you sons of bitches about metal or jazz or whatever. This is kind of something I kind of know my way around the genre. And this is my favorite record in the last 10 years. I keep listening to it on the regular over and over and over and over again. And it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, Jay was like, I'm pretty bad about not leaving my house. And Jay is like, what would it take to get you out of the house, go to a concert? And I can't think. Maiden's coming around, and I've never seen Maiden. It's expensive, but I kind of feel like I need to. But it's like an expensive ticket in a Coliseum, and I don't like those shows. And I'm like, I don't know. And maybe I was like, maybe Maiden. And he's like, what else? And I'm like, well, my favorite band right now would be Elder. And so maybe
Fred
Elder.
called it.
Literally like 2 days later, Aaron Griffin, who's in the chat right now, said Elder's playing in Raleigh in August in a place that's the bottom half is a club and the upper half is a record store. And the tickets are $18. Do you want to go?
Shit.
Yep.
So I've got a ticket, couple of tickets for me and the fiance for August to go see Elder. This is Reflections of a Floating World. It was my album of the year in 2017. It's stoner rock. I would call it progressive stoner rock. Some of their earlier albums were very just thick, gnarly fuzz riffs down the middle, with some nice harmonic singing. No screaming and hollering kind of stuff. But every record they tend to kind of like Mastodon in a way where they add a few elements to each record as they move forward. They've gotten more and more progressive, more and more polished, but in like a cool way. So like spacey kind of way. They still have those gnarly riffs that are like well thought out, but in the best kind of way, man. I mean,
Dude, I'll back you up on that record, man. That record is fucking fantastic. And I'm kind of lukewarm to middling on Mastodon.
I think they just kind of do the same kind of thing, where they don't sit still. You know what I mean? Which I appreciate bands that don't sit still.
I see where you're coming from with the analogy. I just don't like Mastodon anywhere near as much as these guys, but that record is so fucking good.
Yeah, and it's man, give it a little YouTube stream if you've never heard it, because it's very melodic. And this is a great little fucking splatter, brah.
Yeah, splatter, brah.
Fucking half the chat knows this band because of you.
Yeah, because I won't shut the fuck up about them.
And,
I've got a bunch of them now.
By the way, Bananas, the Aaron and Fred both called it before you mentioned the name of the band.
I'll be going to the show
in
with
the
Aaron,
chat.
so he'll be there with us. But it's I can't wait to see them live because they've got elements that just like where you're stoned out of your gourd and it's kind of weird and spacey, and they got delays happening and crazy visuals and stuff like that. And then they still bring like riffs. I mean, like riffs to where with vocal lines that you're singing the next day like it's a fucking Genesis song, but it actually has meat and potatoes behind it. That's the best way I can describe it. It's got the hooks of like stuff that just catches you, but like
He got me interested.
it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
me too, actually.
And with that, I'll kill this 40.
We are officially at the end of the show.
Good timing.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks, you guys. This has
Thank
been
you.
fun.
Thank you.
We'll do it again.
The microwave goes off right when I go off mute, or not the microwave, the timer.
What you eating, a Jamaican meat patty, Aaron?
That's a good guess, man. No, that's actually, I got to turn the tater tots in a second. I eat with my hot dog.
Those tots.
Rasta
I'm
top.
streaming tonight, but I have time to make hot dogs. I can do that while I'm live.
I say, right near the beach, boy.
All right, man.
All right, fellas.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks for everybody in the chat.
Really appreciate it, man.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yep.
Hey, we'll be live on Twitch tomorrow night playing some games and maybe watching a movie.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
All right, fellas. We'll talk to y'all soon.
See ya. Thank you.
We'll be back pretty soon for episode 38. So, see ya.
Wow.